Hi, and welcome back to SCW, the live Q&A, the most unpredictable show on YouTube. Your questions, your say, and we will answer live here today. I'm joined by none other than Ella J. I'm going to get us straight on after this. So quite literally, the biggest comeback in women's history since Anna Jay returned. It is source Ella J on SCW. I try and do rhymes each and every time a guest comes on, and this was the quickest I could flow on such short notice. Ella, I hope you're okay with the introduction.
I loved it. Thank you so much for having me back. I had so much fun last time, and I'm so glad to be back.
It's great to have you back, honestly. And obviously, you've been very busy since the last time we had you on the channel. In fact, you was doing quite a lot of NWA Empower. Can you tell us a bit about that experience?
It was absolutely incredible to be part of a history-making pay-per-view for NWA Empowered, their first ever all-women's pay-per-view. So not only to see it live, but then to the next day speak with a lot of the women and do in-person interviews, which was my first time doing in-person interviews. It was a little daunting, but it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun to be part of history and watch it unfold and to talk to a lot of the girls who were a part of it. And none of it obviously would have happened without my girl, Mickie James, putting it all together and getting those press passes lined up for me. So it was just so magical. And I can't believe it's almost been a month now. It's been absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast it's gone since that time. I mean, obviously, we did have conversation trying to do something a bit sooner, but obviously, it just wasn't possible at that particular time. But obviously, to have those interviews, checking quite a few of them out. Obviously, you do a lot of content for a lot of different places. Obviously, you've got your Wrestling Gal podcast. You've been doing writing articles for WrestleZone. You've got interviews. A lot of them have gone on SC Scoops, if I'm not mistaken, on their YouTube channel.
Yeah, a lot of the interviews, well, actually all the interviews I did at NWA Power were for SC Scoops, and then obviously I do interviews for Bell to Bells and Women's Wrestling Talk as well, and my own show. But for Empower, all the ones in person were done for SC Scoops, which was live from the Fan Fest.
I tell you, honestly, a busy gal. That's what we can say. Honestly, it's. I actually wonder how you find time actually to do other work. Actually, it's daunting, but we're very grateful to have you on. And just to say, obviously, I saw you post a number of, like you said, you had the interviews, but a lot of selfies with people like Deonna Purrazzo. Obviously, you said they were with your girl Mickie James and many other great talents, up and coming talents as well. Was you sort of starstruck meeting some of these people for the first time?
I to be honest, I knew most of them already, the ones that I had gone up to. I'd either worked with them in interviews in the past or had a good rapport with them. I think the one I mean, I wouldn't say I think I was probably most nervous to meet Gail Kim, to be honest with you. The rest of them I kind of already knew, but I had not seen Gail Kim in 10 years, but she knew who I
Mm.
was through like Mickie and Dia Shin because that's how the whole Melina paparazzi thing came to be. But I was kind of nervous introducing to myself to her, like, hey, I'm Ella J. And we got to actually have a really great conversation at the Fan Fest. So I think I was most nervous to probably meet her, but also the most excited, and Kylie Ray. Kylie Ray, I had never met before in any capacity, so she was super, super cool as well. But the rest of them, I think I had already kind of knew, so I was kind of more lax with that and be like, hey, girl.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was absolutely superb to see, and it was definitely fun. Obviously, seeing your Twitter feed updating with like a lot of people that obviously I'm used to just seeing on my TV screen and thinking how cool it must be to be interacting with those people, let alone interviewing them. Like you say, having previous history of working with them before, so it's absolutely phenomenal. And of course, it's had led to a bit further on, which we're going to come to the first question in a minute. But I just want to say to everyone as well that's watching, of course, it is a live Q&A, so feel free to phone your questions. We'll be dropping into the questions in about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes time, perhaps, before we go diving straight into them. But just before we do, I need to get your conversation on this because obviously during NWA, Deonna Purrazzo was brought into the show, which was done as a storyline. Obviously, at that point, Mickie James thought it'd be great to have her there. She came, she defeated Melina on that show, and then the following night, NWA 73. We saw Mickie James get attacked. It was revealed to be Deonna Purrazzo. We've seen, a receipt as Mickie James said on Impact last night. And sometimes receipts are a good thing, aren't they? It's always good to keep them. But she delivered last night. She's got herself a Knockouts Championship match. And that's right, it's going to be taking place, Deonna Purrazzo against Mickie James at Bound for Glory. And yeah, I mean, this has got dream match written all over it. And I've got a funny feeling this is one that you're very much looking forward to.
Literally a dream match. I have been waiting for them to announce this because I've known about it for a little while, and now I can finally, like, I am not going to shut up about this for the next month. I just got my tickets for Bound for Glory this morning, so I'm super excited to be able to see it live. It's literally a dream match of mine, and I can't wait to see it unfold. This rivalry is really heating up, and we still have like 4 weeks to go. So I'm interested to see what else transpires between the two, because there's a lot of tension, but I think deep down there's a level of respect between the two, of course, too.
Absolutely. I mean, it kind of feels with these two, you've got obviously the legend, the hardcore country in Mickie James there, someone that's been there and done it all, of course, a multi-time knockouts champion, arguably one of the GOATs as well in Impact history, maybe in women's wrestling history. And you look with Deonna Purrazzo, she's now building that legacy. And I mean, obviously now being the AAA women's champion as well from over there. You know, there's lots of potential of what could happen here. It could be like a passing of the torch. It could be, you know, the up-and-comer that's put in her place. There's so many potentials of way that this story could develop. So it's one of the more exciting, probably storylines. I'd even say in wrestling, not just Bound for Glory. I'm really hyped for this match.
Me too. And I don't know if you can tell, but I got Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo at the top row of my wall up here. I got Mickie over here with Bliss, and then Deonna's over here. So this is one I'm highly anticipating, and you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I have who I think will win the match, which is different from who I want to win the match. So it's a toss up. I love both of them. It's really hard to choose. But like you said, I think a lot of people are invested in this, and it's really a match that people should be looking forward to because it's going to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, if you look with, like we said there, Mickie James being one of the best there, Deonna Purrazzo has really proven herself. And obviously, leaving WWE, of course, it's a big thing. You never know what's going to happen with how things turned out last year. She's come out and just absolutely shown how it's done. And she's just literally taken over. It feels like women's wrestling. And I love as well, one thing about Deonna, every time that AEW is mentioned anywhere near, all I hear her say is, I'm not interested until Tony Khan picks up the phone and wants me to invade there. That's the thing. She doesn't care about when it's like Rich Swann against Kenny Omega, not worried about Christian Cage and Kenny Omega. It's all about when she's involved then. That surely has got to happen at some point. The forbidden door has to open up for Impact and AEW.
Especially when the men have done it. You've seen Kenny go over, you've seen Christian go over and Impact as the champs, but none of the women have cross-branded. You've obviously seen Thunder Rosa in between NWA and Impact and AEW, but that's really about it. We have not had like Britt and Deonna crossover, and one of Deonna's dream matches is her versus Britt versus Chelsea. So I mean, Chelsea's kind of the queen of the Forbidden Door, and Deonna's been doing a lot too, so why not? Now is really the time. But I think we got to wait till after Bound for Glory to see what happens and who's the champ.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many potentials, and like you say, there's so many stars as well. And we've got quite a lot of questions coming in, so I think we should start going towards those questions. And Get Joe is in the house. What's good? What's good? Thank you for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing very, very well. Supersonic X as well is here saying hello, and also asking as we're on Bound for Glory, actually saying Bound for Glory is the place for Deonna to lose the Knockouts Championship. So clearly, a fan for Mickie James here, one in the Mickie column. I'd be interested to know what people think in the early predictions, in the predictions below. So people get in the comments, let us know who do you think is going to win, Deonna or Mickie James. We can say maybe do a count throughout the stream and see who is actually on top at the end. We also got
Deonna did lose her championship last year at Bound for Glory. So to Rosemary, I believe, or I believe it was Rosemary. So she lost it last year. So I think she's definitely gonna be wanting some triumph from last year. But is Bound for Glory the place? Possibly.
It certainly could be, but I mean, the thing is, when you look at it, I mean, is it going to be like MJF, who's lost at All Out for 2 years in a row? Does it become that sort of bogey pay-per-view? There's always that potential, so we'll have to wait and see how it's going to be. And West Coast Podcast is in the house as well, saying Stephen LJ, let's go. What does Impact need to do to be a better product? Killer talent with a production ceiling. So this is an interesting question because obviously Impact Wrestling, they create a lot of stars, and a lot of stars do tend to move on to other companies, whether it be WWE, AEW. Is this feeling of a ceiling, or do you feel that with now the talent they've got right now with Impact Wrestling, say for example, big matches like Deonna versus Mickie, they can start creating this place where people know that that's where they should come to work?
Well, to be honest, I am only invested really into Impact right now, obviously for always the knockouts. And then I'm super excited. They have Christian now, so they've been getting some names. And Christian, I believe, is facing Josh Alexander at Bound for
True.
Glory as well, which I think is going to be an incredible matchup. But again, there's so much wrestling that goes on in a week where I cannot watch like every show every week. Like, in fact, I have not watched any wrestling this week. I've gotten everything from Twitter or seen clips.
Yeah.
But Impact, I think maybe, I mean, I get it. They're kind of hindered by the production cost of stuff and they film everything from Nashville. So maybe if they were to move to a bigger scale, it's possible that they would get more of a draw with people. But I also kind of like that smaller feeling because the Impact Zone is always going to deliver. There's a plethora of a combination of intergender matches. I mean, we just saw Chelsea Green and Rohit Raju, which was great.
Mm.
They're breaking down barriers. They showcase their women in multiple storylines, and they also have like the X division, and then you also have the main card, and then you have the tag team division. So I think they've done a great job incorporating it. And I mean, if they had a greater production budget, they could only expand and only grow them even more.
That's the feeling, you see. I mean, like you say that, it's such a great idea with this Impact Zone. It's kind of got almost like that ECW kind of cult kind of feeling where
Mhm.
perhaps maybe that it can go so far. Maybe it needs more budget to try and branch out further. Maybe it needs more of the Forbidden Door. We saw the likes of Kenny Omega bringing numbers in. I mean, that Rebellion pay-per-view, I believe, did really high numbers. It
Mhm.
was one of the highest pay-per-views at the time. So, and like you say, there is so much talent there. It's just finding a way to try and do it. Maybe somewhere bigger, like Las Vegas. They're going to do the show Bound for Glory at Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, maybe tapings continue from there. Maybe once they get back on the circuit. I mean, they used to go to Mexico and other places like that. So maybe that could be a way to try and grow the fan base. Maybe they need to come back to the UK. Maybe I'm being a bit biased. Who knows?
I mean, at least Purrazzo though is traveling with the Knockouts Championship. Like she has an upcoming title defense against Mercedes Martinez in an indie promotion. So Deonna's like traveling, and then you have traveling champions like Christians going in between brands as well. So maybe opening that forbidden door even more is something to consider if you're trying to expand your audience.
Absolutely, absolutely indeed. There, we've got a vote for Deonna Purrazzo to pick up the victory there, so that's there as well. We have got a few other questions that have come in, so we'll switch to topics in a couple of seconds. Those that have asked questions, don't worry, we will get to them. Getcho is feeling that as well, by the way. Jamie says that seeing as Deonna Purrazzo has beaten Jazz, causing her to retire, beat Melina, and is probably beating Mickie James, do you think that we'll soon see a female version of the Legend Killer gimmick? Fascinating. What's your thoughts, Ella?
If Purrazzo beats Mickie James at Bound for Glory, like, I think she's going to. I hate to say that, because I love my girl Mickie, but just how Deonna has torn through, like, Jazz, ODB, like, Taylor Wilde's still in their division, Melina, like, so many legends this year. If she defeats Mickie James, then absolutely, I think she's gonna have that bragging right as the female legend killer. However, if Mickie James beats her, then she kind of doesn't have that bragging right anymore. So I think it all depends if she beats Mickie James or not. Then she can definitely capitalize on that legend killer gimmick if she defeats Mickie James at Bound for Glory. It's definitely a possibility.
I think it's definitely a possibility. I think you make some great arguments there as well. It's something I'd like to see because it's not something we've really seen so much before. And of course, with the idea, I feel I'm making comparisons here with Deonna Purrazzo and MJF for some reason a lot in this video. But MJF, of course, was actually trying to end Chris Jericho's career not too long ago. I see someone on the video. I can't give them the credit, unfortunately, but they made a great argument. The idea of perhaps MJF ending Sting's career would get him heat for life. Someone Sting that's been a long time performer for like 30 years. People just hate him forever because Sting was taking away.
Mhm.
The idea of like these sort of veteran females that are coming in and Deanna's taking them away from us does give that sort of nuclear heat, doesn't it?
It does, but I do know that even after this, Mickie is just getting started though. So maybe this is Mickey's time to win because she's just beginning her comeback. Still know she has a few years left in her. So I think maybe Mickie, maybe my mind's changed. Maybe Mickie does win here because she's just riding this wave of momentum and just getting started back up. Like this is literally only her second match back since the
Mm.
Royal Rumble. So, and like her only second singles match in like a year. So maybe it is Mickie's time. I think it depends who wins here. I definitely know if Mickie loses, she's not done. Like, I feel like this feud is not going to be done. Like, Mickie is going
Yeah.
to keep invading this Impact Zone.
Well, I'd hope so because as an Impact watcher, that definitely would add. Yeah, as we said, Mickie James is a legend. She adds value to that product. We said about what can add more to that. You know, have big names in there. More people are going to go and check it out. So for me, I would be happy to see it go down that way. It's almost like a fight forever. I know that sometimes is a bit of a corny chant, but maybe we can get that going nice and early.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I could imagine I would be as well. But let's switch things up a little bit. Jamie, I think that's Dyer. I think if I said that wrong, I do apologise. What do you think the main reason WWE put on so few women's matches? So obviously, Monday Night Raw this week had a load of matches, and it feels like the Raw brand does get more, but SmackDown has been very limited in recent weeks. In fact, they went 2 straight weeks without a women's match. Why do you feel that is?
Part of it might be the mentality of the, and again, I'm not backstage, I can't speak for people, but part of it might be the mentality of, like, even what just Mickie James was saying as she was released from WWE, being told that, like, women's wrestling doesn't draw and, like, it essentially doesn't make money. I can imagine that, and that's just coming from one person. I can imagine that a few other people backstage might have that same mentality at all, which I don't understand. Like, I get SmackDown, again, has an hour less, has time restrictions, but there's really no excuse. Like, they can cut, like, the women's matches are the first to be cut, which I don't understand. Like, you can have great matches like that one episode where it was Edge and Rollins. I love both of them, but they could have easily cut like 5 minutes from that match to make
Mm,
room for a women's match, especially on that 9/11 edition of SmackDown where there was that emotional investment to it that I
yeah.
think the crowd really wanted to see. I don't know why. I feel like SmackDown, it's just the time restrictions, and they're like, oh, the women have traditionally been cut first. Even though they've made progress, it hasn't been enough, and they've kind of regressed backwards a bit. Raw is a different other story. They have that extra hour, they have some extra time to fill. So I think that's the reason why Raw gets more time than the women, but there's really just no excuse for it.
No, definitely not. Especially you make a very good mention of that 9/11 episode. And I must admit, I thought that was probably one of the best SmackDowns of the year. So
Hmm.
to turn around and
Yeah.
say, you know, maybe like the stuff they did was good, but I sort of felt to myself that that 10-man tag team match that could have been dropped. I know they had the now. You know, American sports is not my strongest suit, so I should throw that out there nice and early. But I know they had someone that had played for the New York Knicks, and then
Yeah.
they was it Trey somebody? I could be wrong,
Yeah,
but
yeah, that was a great pop. Like, the first half hour of SmackDown was great, but again, you could have maybe cut some of that time. I think they started off SmackDown, like, that was a great episode of SmackDown overall, but they could have fit something in there. They could have cut something.
yeah, I mean, but could not have Carmella had that as the special guest and it be a part of the women's segment rather than being now? Don't get me wrong, Sami Zayn is someone that
Mhm,
everybody hates and we love to hate, but
mhm.
we love him really. But the way he plays his gimmick, he does it so well. But this could have been given to somebody else on this evening.
Exactly. I think it worked though for Sami Zayn because he's just a whole enigma himself. I thought that was a great pop for him. But yeah, Trey Young of the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. That could have worked for Carmella too. I think cuz she's a heel and bringing in somebody that would draw her heat, that could have worked too. That's an idea I didn't even think of. So again, I don't know their reasoning behind things sometimes.
No, it's
Actually, a lot of the
difficult to
time.
know. We can only guess, and that's the thing. We can
Mhm.
speculate, but the thing is, one thing's for sure: we did get a match last week. It wasn't the longest match on SmackDown, but fingers crossed, it has led to a pay-per-view match. We've got a number of women's matches on pay-per-view for Extreme Rules, and one of them being Liv Morgan versus Carmella. I'm quite looking forward to that match. Just before we go on to the next question, I mean, I feel Liv Morgan is one of the she's got raw potential, but she
Mhm.
seems someone that is
Mhm.
improving a lot year by year. Do you think? I think I know the answer because you've just pointed out the picture behind you. Do you think she has that potential to go to the next level and get to the top?
Absolutely. The crowd and, like, Twitter and everybody is behind her. She has one of the most undeniable and loyal fan bases. Again, it's just a matter of her booking. She has not been given the proper opportunity to showcase everything she has. I think the last time she's really had a proper chance, I think, was like oh god, like Elimination Chamber when they were
Mm.
crowning the first ever WWE Women's Tag Teams when the Riot Squad had a really fairly good showing. That's just the last thing I properly remember her getting like a legit some time and some actual opportunity to show how capable she is. Again, I just fear though that they're going to put this on like the pre-show or something.
Mm.
I have that fear this Sunday that that might happen, but I don't want it to happen because rarely do we get women's matches outside of championship pictures. So this again is a good step forward, but I'm not letting them off of the hook yet until I see whether this is on the main card or the pre-show. But Liv Morgan, no doubt, if she's booked properly and given the right amount of time, she has so much potential. And we haven't even seen everything she's fully capable of.
No, I would agree that. And you make mention of that particular match there. People were to go back and watch it. Liv Morgan. There was even a shout out, I think, on commentary or something where they said like Liv Morgan's had an astounding performance in this match for her team. It's
Mhm,
almost as if they were putting her over big time. I
mhm.
like the fact that on the road to the Money in the Bank, that obviously she was clearly getting over with the crowd with a segment she had on SmackDown, and people, backstage must have went, well, hang on, we have no plans for her going into SummerSlam, but we need to get her on TV in some format. Yes, we've not seen so much on SmackDown, but to get this pay-per-view match, hopefully it is a sign not only for women's wrestling, but also that maybe backstage might be listening to what our fans are saying and what we want.
Hopefully. Yeah, Liv Morgan will be a future main event star. Absolutely. She has so much drawing power and they just haven't fully capitalized on it. Like we thought we were getting that push with the whole Lana Bobby thing, but then it kind of just fizzled out. And
Mm,
unfortunately, she's been caught up in storylines like going into Money in the Bank. Like there was a legit kind of storyline going on between her and Sonya Deville and Carmella, and like her
mm.
having to earn her opportunity. But again, they never capitalized on it.
No, it seems to have switched to Naomi, but hopefully we'll get to talk about Naomi and Sonia later in the video because that's a dynamic I definitely would like to talk about. But one thing we should, Jamie Holmes had this question nice and early. We need to get onto it. It's about the Bullet Club, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Do you think the Bullet Club has too many members? It seems now they're adding randoms. Recently, they've added Evil, Chris Bay, and Show. Neither of those seem like a fit, in Jamie's opinion. Now, Bullet Club has been going obviously for a long, long time now. We've had different carnations, different leaders, different members. Obviously, I'm aware of Chris Bay joining. I've not been keeping up so well with New Japan. I'd like to know that Evil and Show had joined as well. But what do you feel? I mean, when is too many?
Again, I am not like I think I've only watched New Japan maybe twice in my life. I do know Chris Bay and I do know Evil. How many members are there currently? Obviously, a lot of them have expanded to other promotions. So I don't think I can give a proper answer until maybe I find out how many members are in a faction. Like AEW has a lot of factions too, with a lot of members too, but doesn't New Japan have other factions too that you can like work with, like the Bullet Club and other again, I really know nothing about New Japan. I'm sorry. Um, but I think it depends how many members there are. Like how much is too many? I think it depends how much is compared to the competition of the other New Japan factions.
Well, I mean, they've got LIJ. I know there's Chaos, Suzuki Gun as well. So they have a number of different factions that are in
Mhm.
amongst there. In fact, it's one of the things that's quite fun about New Japan. They've always got this stable warfare going on. But I believe
15
that
people in the Bullet Club? That's a lot.
yeah, looking at the comments there, I mean, I was going to guess that there probably was like 10, but 15ish.
Wow.
That would not be a surprise then. And give the credit there to Get Joe for giving us that shout out there. And yeah, I mean, C Nation Dog actually even says they'd lost count of every people being in the Bullet Club because yeah, there is just lots. But of course, yeah, we mentioned LIJ and Chaos there. So yeah, there is a lot there. And C Nation Dog has also given his opinion just quickly at the bottom while we're here with these comments. He says, does not blame LJ. He finds New Japan boring. There you go. It's not for everybody. You've probably upset a few people, though, on that in the comments section. But it'd be interesting to know what people's feelings are with this. But I mean, personally, for me, yeah, 15 seems too many, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially and again, I can't attest to anything. Like how many members are in the other New Japan factions? It's probably like 4 or 5, right? Compared if you're comparing the competition of stable versus stable, then yeah, it's way tilted skewed to one side.
Yeah, it seems it, doesn't it? Joshi says, evening all, says well about Show fits Bullet Club within the Japanese side of the group. Potentially, yes. But obviously, we're probably not getting the best answers, unfortunately, with New Japan, I'm afraid. But it is good to know that people have got their feelings in this. But we've got, I'm offended. We've got here from Joshi. Fair play to you. We don't want you to be offended that our New Japan knowledge isn't as strong, but Getcho does see the funny side of it though, which is quite nice to see. This question has come in a couple of times from CNation Dog, so let's get him in there for the first time, saying that I think and I want Josh Alexander to win the Impact World Championship at Bound for Glory. He is really over right now and would become a Triple Crown winner, which is true. He's been an Impact Tag Champion. He's been the X Division Champion, of course, using Option C. Now the potential to become the Impact Champion. Obviously, would it feel the right time? Because Impact has not had their own world champion for a long time now. It's been AEW stars holding it. Does Josh Alexander feel like the right person to bring that championship home?
I think so. I think I love Christian Cage and I get to see him next week at AEW. But I think, like you said, like Impact, I think needs to have a proper Impact actual talent on their roster, be their champion once again. Obviously, this crossover is lovely, but I think it's time for Impact to get back having a champion on their home turf that represents Impact Wrestling. And obviously, you can continue the partnership, but I do think Bound for Glory is definitely the right place and right time to crown Josh Alexander as the Impact World Champion and bring home Impact's championship to its proper home in Impact.
I have to agree with you. And the reason for it as well was when you look at Impact Wrestling, this is arguably their biggest show of the year alongside Slammiversary. Nothing against Impact Plus specials, but usually you don't always get the biggest cards with those.
Yeah.
This feels like the deal here. And even Hard to Kill feels like it's another 3 months away. This feels like it's the right place to do it. And as Getcho says here, Alexander has been putting in the work. So, I mean, if you put in the work and you need the reward, he's had a great year. Right? If people ask me who is the most underrated wrestler in wrestling right now, Josh Alexander would be one of the first names on my lips.
Yeah, I've only seen good things about him. And again, I don't watch Impact on the regular unless it's the women's segments or the clips of that, but I've only heard good things about him.
Absolutely. I know recently, I don't know how recent, but let's say in the pandemic era, there was a match that was trending on the indie circuit of him versus Layla Hirsch. Apparently, it was an absolute barn burner between the two of them. So it would be interesting to see if there's any footage of that somewhere on YouTube further down the line. But apparently, it was a really, really good match. But we're moving on. D-Star in House, you're checking out the stream. Who do you think has a bigger future, Bianca or Britt? Talk about throwing us in the deep end, D-Star, but I'm going to throw Ella in the deep end first.
Without spoiling anything, I think you'll just have to stay tuned for the PWA top 150 women's list.
Oh wow! Now that is a drop there for you. I like that. When can we expect that to be?
I just know it comes out probably around mid next month in October. That was really fun to be part of. I think you'll just have to wait.
Interesting. I think that's fair. I mean, we can be patient. Do you know what I mean? Like we have to wait for certain things. Like we have to wait for Deonna versus Mickie for another 4 weeks. I think we can all wait for mid-October for the idea of seeing who can come number one here. But I suppose I can answer that question at this meantime. Is it a WrestleMania main eventer or is it DMD? It's very hard to say, but I think both have incredible futures. There's no doubt about it. But obviously Bianca has main evented one WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised if she went to go multiple ones because obviously WWE, if they continue with this night 1, night 2 stuff, I think that Bianca Belair has a very bright future. I could see a main event in the likes of Charlotte Flair, probably even Becky Lynch again. That feels like a big time film match. Britt Baker, I know they've got some big plans in the works. I saw a rumor this week, take it with a pinch of salt. Thunder Rosa, they may revisit that feud some point down the line, perhaps even a steel cage in early 2022. Not from my lips. You didn't hear it from me. But, it's a potential something that could go down the line. So one thing's for sure, bright things are coming in for both of them. I think we could both agree with that.
Excuse me while oh no, my camera's not blurry anymore. It was bugging me. I'm so sorry. But yeah, no, it's like no doubt though both of them are absolutely incredible. They've had huge years. Bianca Belair obviously has main evented WrestleMania. She won the Royal Rumble and Britt Baker has been taking over and really been the face of the AEW women's division. So that's all I'll say about that. I love both of them though. They've had incredible years. But I think they both have bright futures. Like there's no doubt about that. I'm just hoping that Bianca reclaims her championship this Sunday at Extreme Rules too.
Yeah, Interesting. It's a good little prediction there. And obviously, we'd like to know people's Extreme Rules predictions as well. C Nation Dog says, this won't shock you, but I want Charlotte Flair to retain the Raw Women's Championship because I do not like the Fiend Alexa Bliss, but I think the Fiend Alexa Bliss will win. So that's a prediction from C Nation Dog. Now, obviously, you've given your predictions for Extreme Rules on SC Scoops, so maybe it'd be unfair for me to call for that. But what I would say is, are you looking forward to the match this Sunday, and have you enjoyed the build between these two?
Yes, because this is only the second time on the main roster that they are doing a televised one-on-one match, and I love both of them. You can't see it, so I have Charlotte over here, and then I have Alexa
Okay.
up there. Those are two of
Nice.
my favorites right now and have been for a few years. And so this is not a feud that we have really ever seen. We obviously had a couple years ago at Survivor Series, the Raw versus SmackDown. They were the champs, but this is actually the first rivalry, first feud storyline that we have going into this. And it's a new Alexa Bliss and it's a new Charlotte Flair compared to 4 years ago. So I'm really excited. I can see it going either way. I can see an argument for both. I wanna see what Bliss
Mm,
is gonna do. Like, I want Bliss to win because I think it's time she reclaims the Raw Women's Championship, but I also do not want Charlotte Flair to have another short title reign. So it's a
yeah.
toss-up for me. So for that reason, I mean, I got Charlotte Flair retaining. However, I won't be mad if Bliss wins because I wanna see what she can do with the championship as well, and I'm just really excited to see these 2 go at it because it's only the second time ever televised on the main roster that they're going one-on-one.
Absolutely. I mean, as you said there, Survivor Series, I believe it was 2017 was the last time. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, seeing these go one-on-one again on the main roster is a big deal, in my opinion. I'm one of the people that's not really a big fan of the current Alexa Bliss direction and character with the Lily Doll. But what I would say is I was really invested with the playground this week, particularly when we kind of got them mouthing off of each other of the woo is not your thing. Well, that's if you want to talk about originality. Can we not talk about you? It's like when we got that sort of thrown in there, Charlotte saying she wanted the goddess back, the idea of ripping the head off of Charlie as well, threatening to do it to Lily. Could that be a way to transition back to the goddess in a weird way?
That's what I said in my prediction video for SC Scoops. I said if anybody is gonna bring back the goddess, it's Charlotte Flair because like Alexa throwing the line like you would be nothing without your championship. I mean, Charlotte's known for having championship reigns and like being royalty and stuff, but I mean, Alexa's done so much without a championship in like the last year plus. Actually, the last time she was Raw Women's Champion was 2018, so she has not held singles gold in like 3 years. So if
Mm,
anybody's gonna bring back the goddess, I think it could be Charlotte Flair. So that's why I'm really, really invested in this because it can go either way. And plus, with the unpredictability of Alexa Bliss and Charlie and Lily the doll, it's like what's gonna happen? And also like who's kind of the baby face in this situation? Because Charlotte Flair was 2 months ago flipping the crowd off, but then the
yeah.
crowd kind of respects Charlotte Flair as well, but and Alexa Bliss. So I don't know.
It feels Alexa's the babyface of the two at the moment, but we'll have to see how it's going to play out. But like you said there, I mean, even Alexa Bliss could play this idea of like she's still this character, still the Lily doll, but Lily tells her what to do. She could just come out as the goddess. We wanted it. I brought it for Extreme Rules, and then after the match, she goes back to being how she currently is. There's so many different twists and turns. It's a fascinating storyline and what WWE can do with it. Sadly, I have a feeling they're not going to do anything of what we suggested.
But I mean, the thing, even if you don't like Alexa Bliss's new gimmick or whatever, you have to admit that there's always that level of unpredictability in what's going to happen. Like, she beat Randy Orton last year. Granted, it was a very
Yeah.
strange match and like on the line of cinematic and kind of weird, but like you can never predict what's going to happen in an Alexa Bliss match. You really, really can't. Is Lily the Doll going to have some effect, or is it like Charlotte actually going to be able to wrestle the goddess? You've seen Alexa transform into the goddess, into actual like Alexa, and then back into kind of this fiend person. Is she going to transform? We don't know.
We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be very fascinating to see how it's going to play out. But one last thing I'll just say about Alexa Bliss is that obviously it's more the supernatural stuff that I was not a fan of. I quite
Okay.
like the mind manipulation stuff that we are seeing. The stuff in recent weeks, I'm feeling a lot more. And just say, Signature Dog said that he's not liking, he likes Alexa Bliss, but the current gimmick, easy for me to say, is not his cup of tea. And someone
It's
who's a
not
Brit,
everyone's thing. Yeah.
no. And as a Brit, I know a lot about cup of tea. So, it's not a bad thing. So we're going to go back up into the comments because I know that Jonesy has joined us as well, and he has actually got a few questions in. So let's get his first one up here right now. It says, once Roman beats Brock and Finn, who is next? So yeah, interesting question. Who will be Roman facing, I suppose, around Survivor Series time? Would it be still Big E?
Y'all are assuming that Roman's gonna be champ walking into Survivor Series. Come on, don't underestimate Brock. And I never thought I'd say this, but I want Brock Lesnar to walk out of Extreme Rules or, oh gosh, the Saudi Arabia show's coming up next month.
That's the
So
Brock match.
they're probably gonna, yeah, they're probably, wait, is that happening? So is Roman not going on? Oh, okay, it's Finn at Extreme Rules, and then it's Brock and Roman next month at Saudi Arabia. Um, I'm praying that Brock Lesnar walks out of Crown Jewel as the champion, but assuming he doesn't, who would be next for Roman Reigns at Survivor Series? I guess it would have to be Big E, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. We need some power positivity, you know what I mean? Like, and Big E's got there. He's got the strap. I mean, we could have had Lashley against Roman Reigns, which would have been an awesome match. But now that Big E's in this spot, I want to see him thrive.
I fear he's gonna get squashed though, like Brock Kofi style. I fear that so much though, especially
Yeah.
with how Roman's booking has been going. But then again, people have also been saying maybe the Bloodline versus the New Day. That's also a possibility too as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be on one match. Maybe, well, I guess Biggie would be going to Raw through the draft, so let's assume that. So maybe we could be getting the Bloodline versus the New Day. So I guess it would have to
Absolutely.
be Big E would be next after Brock.
It would be very interesting. Yeah, I think Big E is the one we'd say right now. Obviously, the draft will give us a clear indication when it goes into December. Obviously, it's too early to tell. And we
Mhm.
say the idea we think Big E will go to Raw. What if it shocked the world and Roman was the one on Raw and Big E was the one on SmackDown?
Oh my god. But then oh gosh, but they I don't think they would break up the bloodline though, because the bloodlines are tag team champs. So I guess they would have to lose them on Sunday
It could
if
happen. If
they
they
even
want to
have
create
that match.
headlines,
Yeah. Yeah,
if they
that's
want to create
true.
the headlines, we'll have to wait and see. Because then you get Usos versus RK Bro. That could be a fun little feud on Raw.
That would be something, all right. Somebody mentioned something too about I think it was Joshi Pro about Io Shirai in the draft. I want Io Shirai to go to the main roster too, but that's assuming they drop the tag team titles next week.
Yes, absolutely. There we go. We'll just get that comment up for everybody now. Io Shirai to be drafted to SmackDown, and Imagine matches with Sasha, Belair, Tony Storm, and Liv Morgan. Would love to see all of those. Yeah, she has to drop them belts first. But are you feeling Io Shirai and Zoe Stark's mismatch tag team at the moment that they're doing?
I love it. I mean, I've always been a fan of Io Shirai. I think it works. It kind of reminds me of that whole like Kane Daniel Bryan thing going on.
Mm,
Like they're just two completely different people, but they work well
yeah,
together. So, however, I don't think that this is going to be a long-term team. I think people have been saying that it would be Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, and if they're looking towards the next generation of superstars, especially now that it's NXT 2.0, I can see them strapping the tag team championships onto Gigi and JC Jane because they're killing it right now with Mandy Rose. So they seem to be the
yeah.
next formidable faction. So maybe then you have Shirai break off to finally on the main roster after she's kind of gone through everything in NXT.
Absolutely. No, I love the sound of all of that. I mean, Toxic Attraction, they really have hit the ground running with their work on NXT so far. Really enjoying it. Like you said there, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark has been fun. I really enjoyed when they went to the restaurant. I think it was like the sushi thing they were doing. I thought that was quite fun to watch, quite entertaining. But like you said, I don't think it's a long-term thing. Zoe Stark feels like that sort of one that's been around all year, and she would fit perfectly the narrative of what this NXT would be to be their champion in sort of 6 months' time or so. So she could perhaps start that journey soon. So I wouldn't be a fan, or I wouldn't be against, should I say, if the belts were to change hands next Tuesday. But Jonesy has got a question, which I'm assuming is about NXT 2.0. He says, what's your thoughts on WWE launching American Gladiators? What are your thoughts of NXT 2.0?
So this is actually WWE, and it was MG something announced that they're relaunching American Gladiators, which is I don't know if they have it in the UK, but they had a version in 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, I believe, where Hulk Hogan and Layla Ali were the hosts, and then
Wow.
they also had a version in the late in the 90s as well. I personally loved American Gladiators. In fact, I was binge watching it earlier this year talking about it. I mean, I'm down for American Gladiators to come back. I just hope with different hosts. So I think it'd be really, really fun if they bring it back. And like, who would be interestingly enough though, Matt Morgan, who what used to be in TNA, was an American Gladiator starting up before he
Nice.
started wrestling. So that's an interesting fact. And you obviously had like Hulk Hogan was a host. And so yeah, 2006. I'm excited for that one. If they bring this back, I would love it back. I was just wonder who would be the Gladiators.
That's true. Yeah. Well, what little fun fact, because we had it twice in the UK as well. We had it in the early 90s,
Ah,
and in 2006 we also got it back. And
mhm.
Nick Aldis was actually a gladiator.
Really?
He was indeed. Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. So if anyone is as old as I am and wants to throw it in the comments, feel free to. If not, I may need to do a Google search during this at some point. But Joshi Pro has said, I would really like a Stardom world title to be in the stable of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think it's a great idea. Stardom, obviously an all-women's promotion in Japan. They do some fantastic pay-per-views, matches. To do have that transition with New Japan and have that world title a part of a stable in New Japan would be awesome.
I agree. You like obviously have like a way to tie and Queen's Quest and all of their factions. And I mean, I kind of more got into Stardom about 2 years ago. Through like ironically like Jamie Hayter and like Hannah Kimura and like Bobby Tyler. So some of the UK girls going over there. But Stardom
Mm.
has been absolutely been amazing. And I think it's time that they kind of break through that barrier and get some representation more in New Japan.
I would have to agree there. I mean, that's obviously like a next step, isn't it? Almost at this
Mhm.
point for them, and it would be really really awesome to see. But we've got a get show here with if we're talking factions, AEW is the buffet of factions. That's right. Literally, you
You're
can
not
take your
wrong.
pick. Absolutely not there. Joshi Pro also saying that Bryan Danielson wants to work in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Who would you have in face? Ibushi, Kenta, Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, there's some more mouth-watering matches there, personally. I think Zack Sabre Jr. would take my pick of that just purely from the technical wrestling standpoint. Obviously, we're not obviously big New Japan followers, but is there someone that's over there you sort of would be familiar with that you say, Bryan Danielson, that match is for me?
I don't know if he's in New Japan right now. He's done a lot of work in there, but I really want to see Bryan Danielson versus Jeff Cobb. I
Yes.
love Jeff
Oh,
Cobb
yes.
so much. He's like one of the few bigger guys who can do a lot of high flying stuff, and I've seen his work in Ring of Honor like firsthand, and then
Mm.
seen some of his work in New Japan as well. So I would love to see that, but also you got to go big with Ibushi as well. Like even I'm not that knowledgeable on New Japan, but I know Ibushi as well. Also, Bryan Danielson maybe versus Alex Shelley is something I really, really want to.
Nice. Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do now that Bryan Danielson can work basically wherever he wants because we've seen AEW talent on indie promotions and pop up elsewhere. So why not?
Absolutely. And you mentioned Jeff Cobb there. I think it's a fantastic suggestion. Loved him as I think it was Matanza Cueto. Lucha Underground was amazing. You mentioned there in Ring of Honor firsthand, that match he had with Will Ospreay was incredible. And Will Ospreay would be another great opponent for Bryan Danielson. So yeah, literally, I think that we could just turn around and say that anyone in New Japan would be a great match to see. Would be quite cool for that. But Joshi Pro makes a mention here. Josh Alexander works for New Japan Strong, and he's awesome in the ring. So there's another potential destination that you can see him each and every, I suppose, month when they do those shows. And he does also going to say if Maya Iwanti isn't number one in the PW500, this shows how far we are behind on some of these questions. He will be disappointed if she's not
I
number one.
cannot confirm nor deny nothing.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Getcho also says, enjoy the PWI women's list more than the men. There we go. That's another shout there.
Tea.
I'm interested to see how that is going to go down. We've got CNation Dog here saying that Deonna Purrazzo will beat Mickie James to retain the Knockouts Championship at Bound for Glory.
I
We've
agree.
got
I agree. I can see that happening. That's my prediction. It's not necessarily what I want to see. However, I love both of these ladies, but I think that Deanna's reign is not over yet.
absolutely, yeah, I have to agree. I feel the same. Right now, I like to keep my predictions until the week of the pay-per-view just to see
Yeah.
the story develop.
True.
But at the same time, I would agree with you at this early stage. Get Show says Belair is a star, but Britt has had the better matches. Interesting there. PWI will probably confirm that for us in about 3 weeks' time. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that will go. C Nation Dog also says that I'm hyped for Extreme Rules 2 more nights. Yeah, it should be a good pay per view. I mean, you look at the card on paper, the men's matches and the women's matches, it does seem like an exciting show.
It does. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch it live because I'll be at work, but I'll be catching up on my timeline and then probably watching it on Monday. But I'm super excited.
Absolutely. I'd probably be a Monday one as well, purely for the time difference. That's what
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
does me.
It's like starting at like 1
Yeah.
a.m. or something for you.
There was a time where these pay-per-views would start like at 7 p.m. Eastern, and like
Mhm,
see if you didn't have to be up that early, you could say, I can squeeze an hour or two in now and
mhm.
finish the show. So now it starts at like 8 p.m. Eastern. It's like they just absolutely butchered the UK market.
Yeah.
So, and the European market, that's another hour ahead as well. So, yeah, poor Europe. We do suffer for our entertainment, I'm afraid. But hey, Super Sunday X, I definitely see Thunder Rosa becoming AEW Women's World Champion from Britt Baker. Obviously, we mentioned the idea potential of that feud earlier on. Is that something you would like to see?
I think so, but I don't think right now. I think Brit's what, 4 months into her reign now at this point, just about. I don't think it's time for it yet, but I think it would definitely draw the crowd big. And obviously, it would kind of be a throwback to their lights out match, and would Thunder Rosa get the one up on Britt Baker again and have her number? I think that's something AEW definitely needs to revisit, but we've seen some new names popping up in AEW, so I don't think right now is the time. Maybe November is the time at their next pay-per-view. So we'll see.
That certainly would put things into full gear if that was to happen. So yeah, I would be down for that. And I mean, even if it's another few months to go. I mean, I was very surprised that Ruby Soho got her opportunity so soon. But obviously, Grand Slam was a big show, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Obviously, it felt like the right place, and it was a main event as well. Gives more stock into the Britt Baker name also for whoever does eventually beat her for that championship. So I'm interested to see what's going to go down with those. And C Nation Dog has got more to say. If Thunder Rosa was really over, but kind of losing away, maybe not as over, but as she was, but she is still over. Would that be an argument that perhaps, I mean, we talk about women's wrestling, perhaps not enough of it. AEW could do with more matches, but obviously Thunder Rosa probably spending more time on Dark and Dark Elevation right now rather than Dynamite and Rampage. We only really get 2 matches a week on AEW's main 2 shows.
Yeah, and this is my gripe with them. Like, obviously, it's great that they, and again, this is just my opinion. It's great that they showcase a lot of newer talent with their established talent and signed talent on like Dark and Elevation. However, it's not like quality matches. So you're just seeing people's new faces. You're not like properly getting to see their full repertoire and all of that. And again, Thunder Rosa has primarily been on Dark and Elevation. And I mean, we saw her at the last pay-per-view where she made it to the final two, right? Against
Mm,
Ruby Soho. Yeah. So that was
yeah.
a great showing. And the crowd was really behind that. So I think AEW needs to get Thunder Rosa back on Dynamite and Rampage, the two primary shows of AEW, to further her agenda and further cement herself as really a focal figure within the AEW women's division, because the crowd loves her, and rightfully so, because she's been incredible in the past when she wasn't even signed. So I think if she's going to be the next one to take the championship, they need to start getting her actively on Dynamite and Rampage.
Absolutely. She's an incredible talent. And I'm also biased because she's the only pro wrestler that follows me on both Twitter and Instagram. So,
Ah.
I have a slight vested interest of hoping that Thunder Rosa will do well going forward, definitely in the fan club right here. But one quick other question that I've just, is kind of based off what we've just been talking about. Chris Statlander at the last show, AEW All Out. She got the championship opportunity there. She had been undefeated since returning from injury, which she returned, what was that? The arcade game sort of street fight that went on with the best
Mhm.
friends, Miro and Kip Sabian. She'd spent a lot of that time on Dark and Elevation. Does those wins mean so much when it's on shows like Dark and Dark Elevation? I mean, that sounds probably harsh to say, but if I'm not watching it, why should I be invested?
No, because again, it's almost predictable to a point too, because like I said, you have the signed or established talent on AEW with a new face, where 95% of the time that signed or established talent, in this instance, Chris Statlander would be taking the victory week after week after week, where it became predictable, you know?
Mm,
So, and of course, she's going to be undefeated again, where AEW across the board basically has their signed talent take home the victories almost every time. So, uh, I love Chris Statlander. Again, it just, they need to get her on TV. Again, there's a drawing power to her as well. But
mm.
I mean, it's just predictable to a point.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. She's an incredible talent. I
Oh,
enjoy
no
watching her
doubt.
work. Fantastic in ring, but obviously, I never felt at any point there was any doubt that she was. I thought she was always losing that match at All Out. I never felt Britt was in danger at that pay-per-view. And I think that's just, as you said, the reasons of why that would be. But hopefully we get more women's action on AWTV. They've got now more time to do it. And there was actually a suggestion, which maybe we've got in the comments already, but that maybe bringing in a TBS championship for the women's division soon. Would that be something that you'd be interested in seeing?
Repeat what? Explain what a TBS title. What am I thinking of? Like,
so we've got TNT Championship currently held by Miro, which is where obviously TNT. That's obviously the station there. TBS is the other station, which I believe they'll be moving to. So I believe that will be for the women's division.
Yeah, I think like a secondary championship for the women, basically.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have enough women on the roster. I mean, for the women, there isn't enough depth there. But the thing is, I think that there is though, because but people wouldn't know it because you don't see a lot of the depth on AEW regularly. You always see like Britt Baker and like now Jamie Hayter, like Red Velvet. I mean, they have the great amount of women. Like there's Riho, there's Nyla, there's TJ, there's Kylan King, there's Jade Cargill, there's Hikaru Shida. I feel like there is depth, but you don't see it regularly enough on Dynamite or Rampage to know that, because most of the roster is being used on Elevation and Dark Elevation. So I think they maybe do need a secondary championship. There's definitely the depth there, but again, can you fit it in 2 hours? Again, it could float between Rampage and Dynamite though. So, but again, there's really nothing outside of Britt Baker right now, which is unfortunate.
Absolutely. I mean, I must admit, I'm very guilty. I'd struggle counting 21 women up
Excuse
until
me
the.
while I focus this. There we go.
You go for it, not a problem. I had trouble counting 21 women to be in the battle royal, but they have that talent there and more. They just, you said, they need to find that exposure to get them on there. Joshi, as we've just gone towards the bottom of the comments here just for the second, said that he felt that there wasn't a need for it, but as you've already addressed that, but a trios championship and introduce them on the Jericho Cruise. Would you like to see a trios championship? We said about all them factions earlier on in AEW. Was that something you'd want to see?
Yes. I mean, absolutely. You obviously saw like was it Riho, Chris Statlander, and who else was it just team up against each other? And then you have Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel/Reba. And I mean, you have TJ who can easily team up with somebody else. I mean, you have Big Swole too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that they've used in like the tag team tournament that you could bring back in, like Nicole Savoy, or like actually sign Julia Hart to something. You could, I think, have at least 4 trios teams vie for those championships. Again, there's enough depth there. Now you have Kylan King and Red Velvet, who have now teamed formally before at NWA and Power. So you could put them with somebody. I think they have enough women. There's just not enough storylines for them right now on television, which is my gripe.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not always about the titles, it's always about the stories. That's what would be quite interesting. He suggests the idea of end of 2022. I'd like to see it sooner. I'm going to say it out there now. Maybe when the transition to the move to TBS happens, that's when I'd like to see it happen, but perhaps not at this particular point. C Nation Dog also says that he doesn't watch Dark and Elevation because they have jobber matches. It kind of explains it, really. If you know the results, why would you tune in? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things. Like it's difficult to see, really. But we've got Getcho says here, just very nice to see comments like this come in. Damn, the stream quality is great. Props, SCW. Thank you very much. And got to give a big thank you as well to Ella J as well being part of it here this evening, because obviously it's fantastic to have you in. It's always great to talk pro wrestling with you. Jonesy says here, how WWE released Deonna Purrazzo could be considered one of the most stupid moves ever. I have agreed. I've probably talked to him about this a million times before. So, Ella, I'm going to give you the floor on this.
Oh my gosh, I got a lot to say. It's just so unfortunate. And it's not like, and I have listened to so many interviews that she has done over the last year and a half since getting released. And it's not like she wasn't fighting for her spot. She was literally using her own money to produce vignettes and new gear and shoot videos and film promos and stuff to present to producers and backstage people. And she was pitching idea after idea to represent her character and storylines and VXT and everything. Like, she took so much effort to prove to these people that she belongs there. And for some reason, they just weren't creatively accepting her. And she's undoubtedly great in the ring. Obviously, she would have been called up, well, had that main roster match. I believe it was against Nia Jax if they didn't trust her in ring ability. And seeing now all the success she's had after finally being given that creative freedom allows her to grow and to flourish even more and blossom into the virtuosa. And you can see the confidence in her as she should be, because she's proven so much and she's been able to deliver in high caliber matches. So yeah, it was one of the stupidest moves ever to let her go, but it was a smart move on her decision now, because she's doing possibly the best work in her career, and I think she can only go up from here. But also, you can't really go much higher. And where she's at right now after the last year and a half that she's had, uh she's done absolutely incredible, and I am just so inspired by her story and everything, listening to her, everything that happens. Yeah, regret they better, but also like now she's better off. I mean, I can't speak for her, but she's undoubtedly had a career worthy year and really recognizable and undeniable year. Like, there, I could go on, but I am just so proud of her, and she has inspired me so much personally from her growth and journey she's had.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you cannot
Ugh.
say it better than what you've just done there. I like that. It literally, I mean, Deonna Purrazzo, I've kind of followed her career since Ring of Honor. I thought she was a standout when she was in that company, and you saw the Women of Honor, and seeing her transition to NXT. I was really excited to what she'd bring to WWE, especially the Mae Young Classic as well when she was in that tournament. And sadly, it never got to be more than a couple of handful appearances on NXT, Monday Night Raw. I believe she got a match with her in Charlotte though, which was pretty cool to see, and that was an outstanding match when
She
it
had,
happened.
like, a record losing streak, though, in NXT. I forget
Yeah,
what the count was, but it became, like, a running gag that she had, like, the most losses, like, more than, was it Bo Dallas or no, Kurt
really.
Hawkins? Remember Kurt
That was,
Hawkins had, like, that
yeah, yeah,
shirt? Like, it was
yeah.
up to there, like that.
Wow.
Gianna, mm, I can't say anything, but, I mean, she's had a remarkable year.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at a comment down there. I can't say anything, but, she's had an incredible year and definitely one of the most deserving women right now in
Absolutely.
wrestling.
I'd have to agree. If she's not in that top three, you will be seeing some tears from me. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. But yeah,
I
we're
will
going to
say
switch.
though, I went to bat for her, so I was fighting for her all the way, regardless.
I like the sound of that. I do like the sound of that. Jonesy says Becky Roman both win is certain.
Oh,
Surely, you may feel that would probably happen at the pay per view, but I like the unpredictability. WWE sometimes
mhm,
throws something we think we know,
mhm.
and they change it. We didn't know Becky Lynch was coming in at SummerSlam, and we got that, and that kind of brought us where we are now. So it's interesting that we do sometimes get surprises, but I will give a spoiler alert because yes, my predictions are on the channel right now. Um, I've predicted both of them to win. So yeah, but if you want to know my reasoning for it, it's worth checking out the video. I would say that. But if they don't want to know my reasoning, then just don't bother,
Mhm.
I guess.
I think Roman Reigns obviously retains, but I want Bianca Belair to win.
I think eventually she gets the belt back and becomes a bigger star in the result of it in the long term, even if it doesn't happen
Maybe,
here. I
yeah.
think. But to Judge Pro says that he cried at the Hana Kimura celebration of live show. I went to the event, Joshi Wrestling Rules. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was so sad, obviously, with what happened with her and that. And yeah, a very emotional show as well. And I mean, she's sorely missed.
Definitely agreed. Like Hannah Kimura was a big reason like I got into Stardom besides like Jamie Hayter, like the whole Oedo Tai faction basically are just incredible, and like Queen's Quest and all of them. Like Hannah Kimura is, oh, I miss them. I miss
Yeah.
her.
Absolutely, absolutely. Getcho has said that he thinks Alexa Bliss will be winning at Extreme Rules over Charlotte Flair. Joshi also asking, is there an Extreme match, Extreme Rules match at the pay-per-view? Yes, there is. It's Roman and
Oh,
Balor, but it was only announced on Raw on the graphic at the end of the show. So we don't even know the reason why, really. But I mean, I guess Finn Balor, he probably has been attacked a lot. Probably thinks he can even out the numbers. Who knows?
we
I
still
think
have
there's.
SmackDown to go. I mean, they could announce something last minute in WWE fashion, so we'll see.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did it just before the match itself.
I don't know.
Wouldn't surprise me. I'll have to wait and see. C Nation Dog, if Alexa Bliss comes back as the goddess, I'll be fine if she wins the Raw Women's Championship. I mean, C Nation Dog there, given his viewpoint now, we'll have to wait and see what will go down with it. C Nation Dog also saying that Reigns versus Finn Balor is there. Speaking of Charlotte Flair, Super Sonic X can see her retaining, but here's a twist based on recent tweets surrounding Oscar. We might see her return on Sunday. I mean, Oscar obviously has been out of the picture. I know Super Sonic has actually asked a question about Oscar further down. I will try and find it, but I will ask a question on your behalf now. Oscar, how do you feel she comes back? Does she come back as a babyface, a heel? Does she need a fresh move to SmackDown? Or does she go straight back in the championship picture? What do you need for Oscar on that return?
I don't think she's going to be coming back until the draft. I think SmackDown would be the move. I think having her return, what is the draft, next Friday?
Yes.
I believe. I think having Asuka get drafted to SmackDown and then immediately come out, I think is the breath of fresh air that she needs, because she hasn't been a part of this. She hasn't been part of the SmackDown roster, if I'm correct. Since being called up, I believe it's been all Raw.
She had a very brief run on SmackDown, I think, after she lost to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 34 for like a year or something.
Oh,
maybe
wait,
6
Asuka
months.
was the former SmackDown Women's Champion. I am dumb. Wow, I am dumb. I'm so sorry. Yeah, but I think most of her notable stuff has been on Raw. And so I think SmackDown would be a life of fresh air, like a breath of fresh air for her career.
I think it would be nice, fresh air to see that. So we'll have to wait and see what will go down. But I agree. I think SmackDown is the move. And I just want to see on the different show to Charlotte. So if Charlotte keeps the Raw Women's Championship, then I'd like to see them separated. But Supersonic knows that. I think I've said that to him numerous times before. But we've got C Nation Dog. Drew McIntyre is the next Universal Champion. He's the perfect guy. There's a little rumor heading around that apparently night one of draft night, it's been advertised in Baltimore. So this could always be the dark match after the show. But Roman versus Drew for the Universal Championship is going down. Could that mean that Drew could be going to SmackDown if this is something that's leaked that's going to be on television?
Possible. I mean, hell, I just want a new Universal Champion. Like, I mean, and it gets Drew away. It gets him into a new picture, a new championship picture. So, and it would give him some new competition. So, I mean, I'm here for Drew becoming Universal Champion against Roman Reigns. It's something new that we haven't really seen before, I don't believe. So I mean, I'm here for it if it's true.
I have to wait and see how it will go down. It'll be fun. I mean, I want Drew to go to SmackDown. I've advocated for the longest time. I think it'd be the right move. Just like Oscar, a breath of fresh air for the characters, for the performer. Just even if it's different ring ropes, it's something that's fresh for our eyeballs. So it's good for that to see. But Joshi Pro, it was kind of dumb them announcing Lesnar versus Reigns devalues the match at Extreme Rules. It certainly does. It does. We can just literally simple. It does. That's all we can say there. Sination Doug says, I'm going to the head of the table run range for Halloween. There you go. That's what we like to see. Jonesy asking if you could add any women's wrestler not under contract to WWE to AEW's roster, who would it be and why? Fantastic question, Jonesy. Ella, yeah, take it away.
To WWE or AEW?
We'll do one for each, or just one that you think would be perfect on both rosters.
One easily for AEW. One who I am shocked has not been signed yet is Kylan King. She's had so many appearances on there, but has not formally been signed yet, which is beyond me. And again, it's kind of like a Red Velvet situation where people are like, why is she not signed yet? Easily Kylan King. Like, she's had so many great standout moments, and now that she's kind of been teaming with Red Velvet, I mean, why not bring the team fully all elite? That one's an easy one for me for AEW. In terms of WWE, so assuming that they're signing like newer stars, the thing though, they say that they're not taking from the indies unless it's like a special occasion. But the first person that comes to my mind is Alex Gracia, the Pink Dream. She recently had a WWE tryout. We've also seen her work in AEW. And I think she's done something in Impact before. And obviously she was in the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship tournament. I think she has been everywhere and has such a great character that I think would really draw well, especially with like little girls and inspiring people, I think WWE would be foolish not to sign Alex Gracia.
Mm, yeah, sounds a good talent indeed there. I'm going to go. Obviously, we're speaking about AEW's women's roster here, and that would elevate that higher. If you want to go and get the best talent out there, that would be establishing your roster further. We've mentioned a lot in this. It's Deonna Purrazzo. That would be the one. When the contract expires, you go in and you bring her to AEW. Obviously, that's a big name straight away to come in. But obviously, you mentioned about people that are perhaps a bit under the radar. Maybe people not as familiar with them right now. What about Lady Frost? I thought she had a fantastic performance in Empower. I've seen her work in Impact as well recently. Apparently, she's going to be at the Impact show as well, the Knockdown show, if I'm not mistaken, as
Yes, yeah,
well.
they filmed it last weekend. Yes, she is there.
She's definitely incredible in-ring talent. I'd be interested to see what she would bring to the table if she was to go to another company. Obviously, character-wise, I'm not as knowledgeable, but I imagine with a name like Lady Frost, you could make something work with that.
She does a great like Sky Twister press too. Like she does great high flying stuff too. She like getting to meet her and talk to her, she like embodies her character. She's fantastic. We've seen a glimmer of it in Impact, but we don't know what's going to go down at Knockouts Knockdowns, so I'm super excited. Jordan Grace to AEW. Jordan just resigned though with Impact, so I don't think that would be happening for a while though, unfortunately. If that were to
Yeah,
happen.
the thing is, I mean, she definitely would be good. And also, we have the shout with Tessa Blanchard as well. Of course, arguably in ring, one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, but does obviously rumors comes with some baggage as well. I mean, Tessa Blanchard, what would you say?
Ella pleads the fifth on this one.
That's a good way out. That's all I can say.
Unfortunate is all I will say.
Yes, I think that's a fair and very diplomatic way of coming out of that. Sinister Johnson, loving the Q&A. Thank you so much. Happy you're enjoying it. And man, this show is better than The Bump. Props to SCW and Ella J. Do you ever watch The Bump?
Though. I love WWE The Bump. They have great stuff, so that's a compliment to me, to us.
That's I mean, I don't see it often enough, but the bits that I do see when they go with clips on Twitter and stuff, I think it's pretty good. So yeah, maybe I need to try and find more. There needs to be more time in the day. I think that's the problem. There's only 24 hours. There's not enough to get as much wrestling content as there is. Joshi Pro says Jamie Hayter is from a town. I'm from Southampton. I live in Japan now since 2002. Yeah, Southampton.
I love that woman so much, and I can't wait to see her next week at Dynamite. I'm going there, my first AEW event. I have been a Jamie Hayter fan for 2.5 years, like through her work with Pro Wrestling Eve and Stardom and all of her work in the UK. I love that woman. I'm so glad that she has been signed to AEW and now getting like global recognition and people can see her greatness. I'm biased. I'm sorry, but I love her so much.
I must say, I voted for Jamie Hayter on your poll on Twitter. You had a poll going on about whether you should wear Anna Jay or Jamie Hayter merch, and I did go with Jamie Hayter because, you got to represent the UK. You have to do it. So
that's true. But also Anna Jay, Ella Jay. So I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a toughie. It's a toughie. Getcho says Brian versus Yano there for us would be a great match to see. Definitely would love to see that. And also just say, Joshi Pro, apologies. It's female, by the way. So apologies there if I said anything different earlier on. Thank you for checking that stream and hope that you are enjoying it. Supersonic X, wait, Nick Aldis was Oblivion. That I believe that could be right. Yeah. And I believe that that is a comment that's from further up, actually, as well. There's so many comments flying in. It's hard to find all of them. But yeah, here we go. Josh, Nick Aldis was Oblivion in the UK Gladiators. So there you go. That is basically a bit of knowledge there for you. And it certainly was a fun watch. But I don't know if he talks much about it these days. But definitely, if you get a chance to talk to Mickie, maybe it'd be
he would have been like 20. He would have been like 20. You said this was like 2006.
I thought it was 6. I've got 2000. He says moved to Japan in 2002. Okay, so it may have been 2006. It's around that time. It was before he went to TNA to be a part of the British invasion in Impact.
Oh my God! So yeah, he would have been in his very young 20s because he's only in his mid 30s right now. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It had the gimmick as well going down at that point. He played you could see it was like he had wrestling baddie written all over him when he was in that as well. I didn't even
know that. That's so incredible. Like when I found out Matt Morgan was on American Gladiators, I was like, whoa,
Yeah, awesome stuff indeed there. And Jonesy says, despite being released on the 31st, The Fiend continues to move significant amounts of merchandise. Does this mean WWE will try and get him back for Halloween? Ella's shaking her head no. What do you reckon?
The rumor is AEW very shortly. I don't think his non-compete is up until October. At least that's what I've heard. But I've heard rumors that he could be coming to AEW next week. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I think that the rumor is he's popping up in AEW within the next few weeks. So I don't think that he will be going back to WWE, at least from what I've been told.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Impact made a big play as well, and that would have been something that could have, raised that ceiling, as was mentioned earlier on in the stream here. But yeah, it's not looking to be. AEW looks to be the place. Next week it's in Rochester, New York. Of course, that was the place that Brody Lee was from. Obviously, sadly, no longer with us. But the rumor I heard, and I heard this today, I'm going to give the credit out to Wrestle Talkers where I saw it, so I'll give that credit out there. They apparently on there suggest the idea that Bray Wyatt, yes, the non-compete clause is there, but at the same time, he has the choice to not get paid for those 90 days. And, he can just be free to do what he wants. So if that is in the contract that he could do that, that would free him up to make that appearance on Dynamite next week.
I had heard that too because it's in Brody's hometown, which is an hour away from where I'm from. I've heard that rumor too that he could be showing up to honor Brody, which is highly likely. I mean, Mickie James showed up on NWA far before her non-compete was up, like literally in June, and she didn't wrestle, so he doesn't necessarily have to wrestle. But it's possible that I've heard a rumor that he could be showing up with the Dark Order and honor Brody Lee. It's very possible.
And definitely would be a very emotional moment as well in
Of
AEW history.
course. I'm gonna be crying my butt off if that happens.
Well, you never know. I mean, to be fair, they do cut to the cameras, they do cut to the audience. You never know, might see
Oh,
LJ
no.
on
If you
Dynamite
guys
next week.
see me crying, I'm so sorry.
Hey, to be fair, I love the fact they can bring emotion out. The CM Punk guy. How awesome was that? It brings out emotion. They met as well. I mean, to be fair, like I know he got a bit of hate on Twitter for it, but I think it's undeserved. Isn't it great that we can get these moments from wrestling where we get pure joy, pure sadness, and we can really connect? I think that's special.
I cried at Empower, so I can highly attest to wrestling making me emotional.
Absolutely. Those special moments as well. And that definitely was a special show as well. Cynic and Dog saying that AEW should have 6-man tag team champions. They have enough 6-man teams. Do it. I would have Adam Cole and the Young Bucks be the first champions. That's a great shout. Of course, now we've got the is it like the Super Kick Elite or something now they've got? Or the Super Click. Sorry, the Super Click there. There's so many names in and amongst the Elite of their own stable names. I actually find it hard to keep track of it now. Keep to one name, Elite. But yeah, I think it'd be a great team. Great shout. How do you feel?
I think that super you said Super Click?
Yeah, I think that's what they're going with, the Super Click.
That's a cool name. It's kind of a run on the Click from WWE, but I mean, they do have a lot of factions, so it's sometimes hard to keep track, but I think the Elite now bringing in, like, Adam Cole is, like, gonna be so fun to kind of revive, so, I mean, I'm here for it. The Bucks have gone from the most, like, loved baby faces to now these really cocky heels and having a lot of fun with it, so as long as they're having fun, I think they're gonna continue to thrive.
Absolutely. No, can't argue with that at all there. West Coast Podcast saying that, I'm guessing this is from the conversation, to tune into their show this Sunday, see how well they're doing. But they said, open chance to you, Steve or Ella J, to be on an upcoming episode. Well, Zax, I'd love to be on an upcoming episode. We have to sort that out. Perhaps Ella as well.
Me too. I don't know if you mean this Sunday, though. I'll be at work, though, on Sunday, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe this Sunday could be a bit difficult for me as well, but definitely an upcoming time. If you ever would, just drop us a message, we can get it sorted out. And definitely it'd be good to actually return the favor and have you on here as well. That would be awesome at some point. I've not actually had that opportunity yet, so that would be pretty nice to do. C Nation Dog here saying that I agree with you. I like to make my predictions official on the week of the pay-per-view. Seems like a safe way to do it. You've got all the story there, don't you? So it's I can see why. Joshua Broke, can we please put respect in the Chelsea Green name? Your next Knockouts champion. There we go. That's not just a prediction. Is it a spoiler?
Possibly. I Chelsea Green, I've gotten to know over the last like 2 months, and she's collaborated with me on something coming up really shortly. So I've gotten to know her personally, and she showed up and showed out at Empower. She is the first ever NWA Women's Invitational winner. She's also been killing it in Impact and Ring of Honor. So she definitely has been killing it in the Forbidden Door aspect. So I will gladly put some respect on the name of Chelsea Green. Of Chelsea Green.
You could have made that up, but no, I
Yeah.
must admit, I have to agree. She's done some fantastic work, and like you said, I mean that invitational head. She like start the match as well. She
She
was there
was
like the
number
whole way.
1. She was number 1 and then defeated number 10, Tootie Lynn, in the finals.
There you go. It's almost like HBK back in 1995 all over
Yeah.
again. That's how much respect needs putting on the name
Mhm.
there for you. But Sinister Dog says, I feel sorry for people who have Extreme Rules that comes on early in the morning. It comes over at 7 p.m. You lucky guy. I tell you, it's very good for people that have it on that sort of time zone. Do you see the next X Division champion? And he thinks Trey Miguel could be a good shout. Obviously, Josh Alexander giving up that championship this week. I believe they're going to do a tournament to crown a new champion. Trey Miguel, a very talented performer, could be a good shout.
Rohit Raju too, a former X Division champion. I mean, he just defeated Chelsea Green, so maybe they're doing a different like storyline for that, but I think he had a great run with it as well. And again, I don't watch it every week to know, but I do know that he's a definitely formidable champion. So why not be or maybe, I mean, we had also had Jordan Grace compete for the X Division title last year, I believe, at Bound for Glory. So I mean, maybe Chelsea Green could be the next X Division champion. Who knows?
There you go. It's open to the women, like you mentioned there. Jordan Grace going for it before, so I have to wait and see how it will go down. I think Trey Miguel is a good shout. So I will actually just agree at this point because I can't think of one better. But I do think Rohit Raju, you mentioned there, obviously, I love his intergender matches that he has. He always shouts equality every time he's it's fantastic when I see him do that. It's brilliant. So he would be good as X Division champion again. A good run last year, but have to wait and see. But just a couple more Impact comments here from C Nation Dog saying he's not sure Rich Swann and Willie Mack will be the next tag team champions anymore. It was a prediction from C Nation for the longest time on these Q&As, but unfortunately, it didn't happen at the Victory Road. We'll have to wait and see if they get another chance at Bound for Glory, my friend. Also says Impact Wrestling pinned his comment last night. Well, fantastic. It's congratulations on that. That's all I can say. It's always good to see when you get the recognition. That's what I say. Going through here, we've got a few more comments then. We've got The Fiend here from Jones saying The Fiend is currently poised as the merch. We're surprised if he finishes ahead of Becky Lynch, Drew McIntyre, IK Bro, and New Day. Well, it's good to see that he's still very, very popular. But I think it is looking like Liz said that he still will be going to AEW at this point. But we've got men's trios championships at the Jericho Cruise and TBS women's title at the end of 2022. I think this obviously was mentioned earlier with instead of the women's, maybe a men's trios. Give them both. Why not? AEW don't have many titles. It's not like WWE yet, so why not do it? We've also got some more comments flying in here. We've got, hang on. Let's just make sure I got to the right place. Same with WWE's main event. It's jobber matches, which is why he doesn't watch. I think that's fair. Right now, or was 20 minutes ago, because that's how far we are currently behind on the comments. So apologies to everybody. That it's actually now currently at 6:50 in Japan, and it's Saturday. So there you go. That shows the crazy time differences that we have in the world. But it's so great that we can all be here together. So thank you for checking out the stream at this time. Deonna to be in the top 10 is the prediction here from Get Joe. It seems to be quite popular now. Jones is saying that AEW need Deonna ASAP. Would you like to see it happen?
I obviously would love to see her cross over, and like she wants to work with them. She wants to wrestle Britt Baker. Like that's undeniable. But I think for right now, like she's been killing it in Impact, and I don't think that she's done. She, like Gail Kim has said, Deonna says she's gone through the whole roster, but she hasn't. I mean, she has not faced Tasha Steelz. I don't. Has she gone one-on-one with Taylor Wilde? I know she has not with Tasha Steelz. So there's still some women in the Knockouts division who she hasn't formally gone through yet. So, and I mean, Madison Rayne recently returned as well. So that's another potential matchup too. I don't think she's done with Impact, but I would obviously love to see her in AEW if they're going to do a crossover between the champions, or maybe even team Deonna up with somebody and have them face like Britt, Jamie, and Rebel. I think AEW would benefit from having Deonna.
Yeah, I think they definitely would benefit having, like you said, there's still matches still yet to see. So we hope for a little while that we don't see it yet. But like you say, through Forbidden Door, there's certainly a lot of potential, definitely. Deonna Purrazzo seems to be very popular on this stream. CNation Dog says, when I last saw Deonna Purrazzo in WWE, I thought she was a jobber because WWE did nothing. And then she went to Impact and I saw her as a star. It just simply says there, if you book correctly, anything can happen.
Exactly. And I mean, I again was not, I mean, I knew prior to her getting released, I knew who she was. I most notably knew her from her matches in the Mae Young Classic where she made it to the quarterfinals, I believe. So the final 8. But really nothing. I knew of VXT through social media, but it really wasn't until after she got released and I talked to her on my podcast where I was like, wow, like really blown away, and then paid attention to her more, and she's come so far. And like, again, her journey has really, really inspired me over this last year and a half. So again, it comes down to booking.
Yeah, it's everything. And it can go from someone at the bottom of the card to the top of the card, male or female, whoever you say, you think, oh, I see them as a jobber. If only they were booked differently, you might just feel differently. People are not giving up on this today for Yale, I'm afraid. But Deonna could be in the top 3. Bianca, Baker, Deonna, and Mayu, your top 4. That is a prediction there from Joshi. I tell you what, I now need to see this the second it comes out and come back to this stream when it does. And then I can compare and see how close everybody was.
Who do you think is top 5? I'm not going to confirm nor deny anything.
Now
but who do you think is top 5?
This is a difficult position to be put in, isn't it? This is how we make me very unpopular very quickly in the comments. But I will say Deonna Purrazzo has to be in the top 3 because, yeah, I mean, she's done incredible work in the last 12 months and multiple different promotions. I think that was taken into consideration with Kenny Omega as well, with his position. So that has to be taken in with Deonna as well. Bianca Belair, she did have that moment at WrestleMania. I think Sasha Banks will be rewarded in the top 5 as well and had a great run when she was SmackDown Women's Champion. Looking elsewhere, I will go with Britt Baker because she has been on a different level. The character, the in-ring work. And the thing is, the moment, obviously, if you look earlier this year with Double or Nothing, I really got like 1997 vibes, like Austin kind of vibes kicking in. It's not really gone fully more yet since because I think they have not transitioned this to like she could be babyface at this point, Britt Baker, because people cheer her. And still keep with that heel stuff going on. So that's what I kind of want to see, a more of a tweener with the attitude, but with a babyface like an Austin-style character. And I think she really could go to not just the next level, but you're talking main event level. That's why I think she could get that over. 5th name. This is where we struggle with a 5th name now. Who would get in there? I'm going to go for Io Shirai, just purely because I'm a massive fan. She's probably my favorite, and she had a great year as NXT Women's Champion as well in that position. Yes, she dropped the belt to Raquel, who probably in and around there as well. But yeah, I'll go with Io. That's going to be my 5. Am I warm?
You're doing okay.
I'm doing okay. I'll take that.
I don't need to get myself heated, you know? I don't need to draw some heat, you know?
No, absolutely not. We'll see if I do when we get further down these comments. But Jonesy's asked definitely some heat here, and I'll probably take the start of this one if you don't mind. What do you make of Dark Side of the Ring so far this new season, if you've seen it? Now, I have seen the first episode, the plane ride from hell, and obviously there has been some accusations that have been made on there, which, of course, if true, are not condoned. But of course, I haven't been there, so I can't really turn around and say yes or no. But what I would say is that definitely, if it is, then all the let's say the repercussions that could come of it would be justified. But yeah, it's not good to hear those sort of stories. And yeah, it was quite a shocking episode to say the very least. Ella, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have seen the plane ride from hell episode. I have not yet to watch the Chris Canyon episode because I haven't been able to watch anything. This last week has been crazy. But like Steve said, like I don't condone any of the actions from most of the people in that episode. And I mean, people are outraged as they should be because especially with matters that seriously, I'm glad that obviously stuff has come to light over the 20 years it's happened, but now it's more on a public scale and people need to be held accountable, which I mean, Impact held somebody accountable from there. If you guys haven't already seen, they immediately took quick action as they should to like further investigate and all of that. So yeah, it's not a joke. It is serious business. So it's unfortunate, but I am glad that it's being brought to light now on a grander stage because people do need to be held accountable.
Have to agree with that 100%. People should be made accountable of those sort of actions. They definitely, yeah, it's just not nice, you know, and people shouldn't be made to feel that sort of way. And like I say, that's if obviously with those actions, I will keep to that because wasn't there. So obviously, don't want to do anything that's going to get this
Yeah.
channel in trouble.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah. C Nation Dog, how come Impact Wrestling Knockouts division hasn't gone through the Forbidden Door?
I don't
Arms are
know,
out here.
man. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Mm,
that's what I'm saying. Like, obviously, Chelsea Green is in there, but she's not signed to the Knockouts division. How they haven't when the men have it in Impact is beyond me, C Nation Dog. Like, Deonna has been fighting to go more through the Forbidden Door. She's obviously been to AAA, but that was not shown on Impact really. So
mm.
we're hoping for some AEW alliance, or they have a working relationship. And I mean, I would assume Impact does with like Ring of Honor or something, or obviously they do with AAA. But how they haven't is beyond me.
Absolutely. There's so many great talents as well that I'd love to see from the Forbidden Doors. We mentioned earlier on the obvious one of Baker versus Purrazzo, but I mean,
Yeah.
what about Karashida? She's been sort of missing a lot on AEW
Mhm.
of late, but that definitely be a fun match to see her against Deonna
Mhm.
Purrazzo. So there's so much stuff that we haven't got yet, and I guess maybe at some point we you know it's one of them things. Do you know what I mean? It's just yeah, we want to see more.
Mhm.
We do want to see more. Joseph Chats Wrestling, how are WWE not having Lashley versus Biggie on this pay per view? Another pay per view with no IC title match. A shame. Well, we've got the IC title on SmackDown this evening. Let's hope that that will change this evening. Or not necessarily a change, but maybe we'll see a change and something added to the pay per view. Maybe that's bad worded from
Oh,
me.
it's
I'd like that.
Shinsuke versus Apollo Crews, right? Because they've been
It
going at
is.
it. Yeah. And I just like seeing Rick Boogs. So I mean,
Yeah.
I want Rick Boogs more on pay-per-view. So I'm all here for the IC championship being on pay-per-view. And also, yeah, Lashley versus Big E. Has Lashley gotten a proper rematch? I don't believe so. I mean, yeah, that would have been the time to have it at Extreme Rules to get a proper rematch for Lashley.
Yeah.
Interesting that they haven't.
It's very interesting that they haven't at this point. I mean, of course, we had Lashley attack Biggie with the chair on Raw. I think Jones even said to me in a comment off air, perhaps a chairs match would have been quite suitable for this pay per view as a rematch. But sadly, hasn't been booked as yet. I feel at this point it's not going to. Probably they've got a bit more momentum on Raw the last couple of weeks. They're
Mhm.
probably trying to keep those television ratings just a little bit higher up. I think that's what they're looking
Mhm.
to do. But Josie Bro, Shinsuke, you're always welcome home. Definitely, I'm sure. I mean, WWE will hopefully start touring again. I believe he's re-signed with the company not long ago, maybe a year or so ago. But yeah, maybe at some point Nakamura may come back. But for the time being, it would be with the WWE banner at this point. But Shinsuke had some great matches in New Japan. I particularly loved the match with AJ Styles back at Wrestle Kingdom a few years ago, back in 2016. Have you seen much of Shinsuke's work outside of WWE?
I have not, to be completely honest with you. I've seen like little clips in there, but I have not seen a full match, unfortunately, yet.
No, absolutely not. C Nation Jockey is saying that Vince McMahon says WWE is not a wrestling company, it's a sports entertainment company. That's definitely what he says, and that's probably why CM Punk says that pro wrestling is back in AEW.
Yeah, and I mean, he says he left professional wrestling in 2005, right? And then came back in 2021. So, I mean, that speaks volumes.
That tells you everything, doesn't it? Yeah. Sinister also saying that Intercontinental has been defended once since WrestleMania this year on pay per view. I'm guessing with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nakamura hasn't held it that long yet, but I mean he can do because Pat McAfee and Rick Boogs make that so darn good every single time. This week in Metropolis, a fantastic podcast. Come and check them if you haven't already. Hey guys, great show as always. Any chance of Sasha Banks coming back? I mean, when will it happen?
Maybe at the draft. Or I mean, maybe even this Sunday because Sasha again didn't get her women's championship match. So maybe Survivor Series, but I think at the earliest would be possibly Sunday, but if not the draft. I think she has to be back soon. I would
Mm.
I would think.
I mean, it just seems so weird that she was written off TV
Mhm.
and not come back, and
Yeah.
nothing's been made of it. So, yeah, is it just dropped completely? I know that she's very high up in WWE in their
Mhm.
opinions, so you'd think she will make a big splash when she does eventually come back to television, whenever that may be. I'd like to just say before we go on to the next question, I actually would love to see a triple threat at some point with Becky, Bianca, and Sasha as well. Just throwing that out there.
True. I mean, I think a lot of people would love Becky versus Sasha versus Bianca. I think that would be a great matchup too. Maybe now Sasha Banks interrupts this match on Sunday and it's like, I never got my championship match, so it becomes a triple threat, maybe.
I have to wait and see. It would be awesome to see if it does go down. Joshi Pro, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn leaving in the new year. I see Cesaro, Gargano, and others jumping ship. It seems to be a sinking ship when it comes to talent signing contracts in WWE right now. Could you see the likes of these sort of stars going as well? I mean, Cesaro did re-sign this year, but Johnny Gargano is also due up towards the end of the year. Gargano, Zayn, Owens, all in other companies. Would you like to see it?
I cannot see Johnny Gargano leaving. I just can't. Kevin Owens, absolutely. I think he's up in January 2022. Sami
Mm.
Zayn, I could see leaving as well. Cesaro, you said just re-signed.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe the start of the year.
Yeah, so I cannot see Johnny Gargano leaving. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, though, are definite possibilities. Like Kevin, I think, has been kind of teasing it on Twitter too, as well. So I mean, it wouldn't be a shock if Kevin and Sammy left. I mean, they have history with a lot of the guys in AEW from like their Ring of Honor and Indie days, and even NXT. So I think that's a possibility. I just can't see Johnny Gargano leaving though.
No, it feels like he's had a happy home. He's in well with Triple H and Shawn Michaels there, so you would feel that. It's only if I suppose that with Vince and Kevin Dunn taking over that the
And he's gonna
direction
be
would
a
completely
father,
change.
yeah. And he's gonna be a father, so to a baby boy, which was just revealed recently.
Absolutely, yeah. Congratulations as well then to the Garganos with that, and yeah, wish them all the very, very best. And yeah, I mean, before we go on to our other questions we've got, are you okay to do about another 15 minutes, Ella?
Mhm.
We'll do 15 minutes as quick as we can, get through all the questions we've got. If we don't get through to the end, then I do deeply apologize at this early stage. But this match will see RKO and Randy Orton taking on the Bloodline at the draft. So there we go. Obviously, we mentioned with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns earlier on. That could be what the match will be instead. That would be interesting if that does take place next week on SmackDown. We're also, I've just lost what I was going to call up there for a second. I will get back to that comment. We've got so many comments here at the moment, Ella. It's incredible. Jonesy asking, are you surprised the Iconics have not been on AEW yet or another promotion?
They've been teasing though that something is coming very soon, I believe on Instagram, and then they said that they were gonna be part of a promotion that like is new and something. So I have a promotion in mind that just launched, but I could be completely wrong because I don't want to speculate. But they said that they'll be showing up very, very soon somewhere. So
Interesting. Where would you think is the right destination for them?
Um, I think it would have to be AEW. I mean, obviously, Cassie has the connection to her husband, Sean Spears, so they kind of already have that foot in the door. And especially if they're gonna have maybe women's tag team championships in AEW, that what a team to have join the division. And then you obviously have like TJ, you had Red Velvet and Kylan King. You have some other tag teams you could possibly put together. I think they could elevate AEW if they're pushing towards a women's tag team division, and they want to work together as a tag team. They've said that explicitly before. So
Would be interesting. And that's some great points you make there, because I always thought for the longest time Impact would be the right destination purely for the reason you mentioned there with the tag team championships. It would
it's true.
obviously establish that division as well. But if AEW was to go down that avenue, yeah, all the ties linking very, very well. Then, like you said, they have enough women on that roster to make that happen. And I mean, TJ, one of my favorite team tandems we've got at the moment in AEW, and yeah, maybe a tag team title division should maybe happen.
TJ versus Jamie Hayter and Rebel versus Kylan King and Red Velvet versus the Inspiration. Now they're called. Somebody needs to book it.
Definitely, definitely indeed. I hope so. Tony Khan, if you're watching, he's probably not, but please do it. Impact has some great wrestling. I have to agree. They
Agreed.
do some great stuff there indeed there. Joshi Pro also says Martin Scurll returned to wrestling this week. So if he can return to wrestling, I'm sure Tessa can. I wasn't aware that Martin Scurll had returned to wrestling this week. Do you know much about that?
I this is the first I'm hearing of it. That's really all I gotta say about that too. This is my first time hearing it, but
Yeah, we'll move on maybe.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I can say sometimes saying nothing says everything. That's all I can say from that. Sinister Dog said that he had actually, since Mike's released, he'd actually forgotten about him,
He's
and
kinda got off the grid, yeah.
definitely gone off the grid indeed there. And yeah, I knew this would come up at some point. It's here now. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega was the best match in AEW history. The match was great, star power. Just didn't like the draw, but it was a setup in the future. What were your thoughts with this match? I mean, you said not had the chance to see it yet, but obviously you've probably heard the hype and how it's been responded on Twitter. Do you think that it's got the reaction that AEW were looking for?
I think so. It was Daniel Bryan's first ever 5-star match, which is crazy to think that he
Yeah.
hasn't heard of anything. Obviously, if it's a 5-star match, it obviously was a great matchup and a dream match for a lot of people. So I think I would say I mean they have great matches. There's at least in the men's division. There's no denying that. Like when most of the time most of the guys that they put on television, they give them time and they constantly deliver. And so I think that it was a huge dream match for a lot of people. I still have yet to see it because I haven't been able to watch a full episode of anything. But I think it's a step in the right direction. And what a moment for Bryan Danielson, who has come so far in his now 20 plus year career against Kenny Omega, who I think a lot of people had been wanting him to face for a long time. And so I think maybe setting an actual storyline up in the future that they can build off of, I think is cool. I mean, it has to be, if it led to a draw, there has to be some payoff.
Absolutely. And I think draws can work to the advantage very rarely. And I think this occasion, although people perhaps didn't want a draw, I think it works because I felt neither superstar could afford defeat at this point. And the fact that they had that here, it builds up perfect for the future. Like you say, whether it's Full Gear, Anniversary Show, Revolution. They could even do this in 6 months from now. And then we see a winner where championship's not on the line, but maybe a title will be.
Very, very. I'm looking at a comment down below now from Joshi Pro. Oh, that's interesting.
I have
Does
to jump straight to the
the
bottom.
yeah.
Uh, is this the comment we're talking about? WWE has superstar requested their release from the company, and it's a big name reported by PW Unlimited. If you follow their socials, any guesses? Oh, well, I knew Grand Metalik had done it, but I mean, we're talking, I guess, a big name. That's not Grand Metalik, and that's no disrespect to Grand Metalik. And we have got Supersonic X saying that as well. Grand Metalik's a great performer, but a big name. I'd have to go Kevin Owens.
Possibly, or there was a woman I was thinking of, but I don't know if she would jump ship. Would
Who would it
Charlotte
be?
jump ship?
Oh, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't be against the idea of seeing how
Yeah,
she would be in AEW, but
and with
yeah,
Andrade and AEW now, I mean, if they're talking big
mm,
name, I could see it being Kevin Owens.
yeah,
I mean, if his contract's up shortly anyway, or may it's Lindsay Dorado. Said Jonesy. What I could oh, I hate to say it, but it could be Charlotte Flair.
yeah. Interesting. All I can say is, and it's reported like 3 hours ago. There you go. Yeah, because the Grand Metalik news came out a couple of days ago. So yeah,
Uh,
it's created a spark in the comments that's even took me to the bottom of the comments. So that's and here we go. According to a report from PW Insider,
oh,
is also very unhappy. Both members of the House Party reportedly tried to speak with management on several occasions about their unhappiness, and I wonder why. Because I don't think we ever see them. And like we said earlier, if they're booked well, you'd get behind them. But C Nation Dog, I'm is not a big star.
It's all
You guys,
comes down to booking at the end of the day. Like a lot of the people, I mean, not everybody can be at the top of the game, but it all comes down to it's Lily. Oh my god, I'd be so sad if Lily left WWE, to be honest with you.
where would Lily go? That's what I want to know.
Probably have her head ripped off or something. They'd write
Maybe
her
should
off.
I'd have a reform a tag team with Charlie, and they could
Oh
go
my
for the tag
god,
team titles
yes,
and
the
Impact.
tag team champions.
There you go. That's what we'd do there. While we're at the bottom, because Martin Guerrero, I don't think I've called a question up from him tonight yet. So thanks for checking out the stream. What your preferred matches would you like to see set for Survivor Series between WWE, AEW, and Impact? So the Forbidden Door, including WWE. Goodness, you've got one.
Charlotte Flair, Deonna Purrazzo, Britt Baker.
Damn right, that is a match and a half. I would Pay money to see that. I really, really would. Well, unless you've gone for women's champions there, I guess I would have to go for Roman Reigns, Kenny Omega, and I'm going to throw Josh Alexander in there because I want an actual Impact talent, and I reckon he'll win the championship. So that'll be my three there. I think that'll be pretty awesome from a tag team environment. I mean, should we say like the Usos, the Bucks, and oh goodness, from Impact?
Oh my god,
And
imagine the New Day and the Bucks.
just in
The
general,
the
that'd be awesome.
hijinks, the antics that they could pull there. Lily will soon be all elite, LOL. Oh my god. That's oh damn. I mean, if that's gonna bring the goddess back, then I guess Lily has to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think it's got to be done now. Wrestling by Waldridge. Good evening to you both. Unfortunately, I can't stay too long as we'll be catching up tomorrow. But picks to win the G1 if you're both interested, of course. Well, we've had a bit of New Japan discussion. We've said that we're not massively following New Japan Pro Wrestling, but definitely I'm not really sure who's actually winning in the G1. I know that Naito has had to pull out of it. But I mean, we both said we're big fans of Jeff Cobb earlier on. Wouldn't it be cool to see him win it?
Yes. Yes, I say Jeff Cobb is God because he honestly really is.
He
I
is
love Jeff
literally.
Cobb.
He is awesome. He really, really is. I'm going to go back up into the comments section now
Okay.
as where we are. And also, we've got here Cynic and Dog saying CM Punk is not wrong. WWE is not a wrestling company. There we go. Jonesy says AEW has finally been overtaken by Raw in the 18 to 49 demographic. What's your thoughts? Well, I mean, WWE are obviously trying to get back on song, and they've had a couple of better weeks with Monday Night Raw. SmackDown, of course, traditionally does okay in the ratings anyway, but AEW has momentum. So, I mean, it feels that that's the in company. You wouldn't be surprised if AEW was actually going to continually overtake WWE in the future.
I think AEW too. I mean, that doesn't surprise me with all the names they've had coming back now. I think yeah, like NXT now and SmackDown are doing great. Raw sometimes has a fault, especially with it being a 3-hour show, but it does not surprise me that AEW has taken over the 18 to 49 graphic because they're a bit obviously edgier, I think is the right word, and like have more wrestling and I wouldn't say more storylines, but like have are more edgy content and more like fun content where WWE is still technically PG, which their audience, I guess, ain't market is a younger audience traditionally. So that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. Yeah. Joshi also says Chelsea Green's Lucha Underground work was awesome. Impact should try and sign Marty the Moth Martinez. I don't remember Chelsea Green's work in Lucha Underground. I feel really bad about that because I was an avid follower, but there's a period chunk I've not seen, and it's probably Chelsea Green's appearances. But Marty the Moth, yeah, he's a great talent. I'm surprised actually that he's not been snapped up anywhere. Have you seen much of his work?
I honestly, this is not, I haven't even heard of him, unfortunately. Don't
No.
come at me, guys. Like, listen, I'm still discovering wrestling to this day. Like, I didn't get into indie wrestling until like 2.5, like basically right before I started my podcast. So I don't know every company still, and there's so much content nowadays that it's hard to keep up with everybody.
It is. It's literally. I mean, it's a full-time job just keeping up with what's going on. And
Yeah.
I mean, even myself, I try and keep an eye on as much as I can. Like even with certain, like I wanted to watch more of the ROH women's tournament, and I just didn't
Mhm.
get the opportunity. And by the time I got round to it, I knew who was in the final. So it was like, well, I'm not going to watch all the other matches to
Mhm.
see the finals. So it's a full-on tournament. But what do you think of Rock K, by the way? She looks like she's got a very bright future.
Roxy, I
Roxy,
love
sorry.
that girl. I've interviewed her twice before. She is also the new Texas Pro Women's Champion, and I believe she holds one other championship. She's been absolutely like rising in the last year, and I think really is the future of women's wrestling. Her alongside like Sky Blue, who have a really great following behind them, and they've held multiple championships this year. They're just really great competitors and are so young. Like Roxy is only 19, turning 20 in November, I believe. So she is still so young and so talented. And I honestly was fully convinced that Miranda Alizé was going to win that because I didn't know if they were going to put it on such a young competitor. But obviously, they have trust in her and believe in her like I do and so many other people do and see her as the future of women's wrestling. And I think wrestling as a whole. I have nothing but good things to say about her. She also even wrestled Deonna Purrazzo earlier this year for the Impact Knockouts Championship, which was defended outside the Impact Zone in the US for the first time in like 10 years, I want to say. So
Mm.
obviously Impact believed in Roxy too, if they were going to let that happen too. So
Yeah, well, obviously, it sounds like she's got a hell of a future on the way, and I look
mhm.
forward to checking out more of her matches now going forward in Ring of Honor when I get the opportunity to watch those. But obviously, Ring of Honor is one that suffered. NWA is another. It's just so much content out there, but we do our very best, and we're running out of time almost. So we're going to do another 5 minutes. I'm going to try and get one question from everybody that's left. I think that's a fair way to do it for everyone that's currently watching. West Coast Podcast does say as well, not this Sunday, but we'll work something out from Zach. So definitely, yeah, we look forward. Definitely work something out. Drop us a message, and we can see if we can sort out a future podcast together. That would be a lot of fun to do. Jonesy says, I'm excited for the premiere of Happy Talk with Happy Corbin tonight. I am. I'm enjoying Happy Corbin's happy character. He's such an arrogant you know what, and I'm enjoying every second of it.
Is that bad that I enjoyed him more when he was sad Corbin? Like, I have never been a Baron Corbin fan, but I actually liked his stuff as sad Corbin. But now he's
Mm.
back to being the heel, and I'm like, okay. But I mean, I'm interested to see what he does. Like, what's going to happen? Obviously, last week, he attacked Kevin Owens, and that was about it. So, who knows?
Yeah. We need to see more. And like you say,
Mhm.
the last couple of weeks it's cooled off, but definitely I was
Yeah.
enjoying what I was seeing before. Joshi Pro as well. I'm going to take the next two comments from Joshi because I think that they're definitely worth bringing up here. Dark Side of the Ring destroys careers, but I couldn't stop crying at Chris Canyon. As I said, neither of us have watched the episode yet, but I've heard it's a very emotional watch. And
Yeah.
yeah, I will make an effort to make sure that I do see this over the weekend. Thank you for bringing it up because, yeah, obviously it's like you say, it destroys careers, but this stuff does need to be brought up.
I agree, especially too with like surrounding his death and everything, especially anything like that is always a tough subject. And again, I mean, I know how he died, but I don't know the story exactly leading up to it. So I still need to watch it as well.
Mm. We'll make sure that we'll do that. Maybe we'll talk about that another occasion here. But also, said I'll bring up another comment. Just give Deonna Purrazzo all the titles, knockouts, AAA, NWA, AEW Women's title. Give them to me. There you
I'm here
go.
for it.
We are
I'm
as
here for
well.
it.
Absolutely, indeed. There, and we're going to try and pick one out here from Seat Nation Dog here. He says here. This is an interesting one. The Dirty Dogs should be split up in WWE draft. Dolph Ziggler is holding Robert Roode back. Interesting thought, that one. I like the idea there. Is that true?
I mean, I'm a Ziggler fan and I like Bobby Roode as well, but mm, I think Bobby Roode had more momentum when he was a single star, like undoubtedly. So maybe splitting them up could help them, but I just fear that Ziggler will sink back down and get lost in the shuffle again. But I do think it would propel Bobby Roode as well. So that's where it's kind of a toss up for me
It certainly
anyway.
is. It certainly is. I kind of feel that I don't know how much TV time they're going to get if they're separated. That's the thing. I don't think WWE is really fully in on the Robert Roode
Yeah.
train. Dolph Ziggler's had his run over the years, so I think it's a tag team. We don't have enough tag teams, especially if the Lucha House Party are the big names that
Mhm.
are going to walk out of town next. So
Yeah.
we need to keep all those teams together. Martin Carrera, what is next for MJF to do in AEW?
You said it earlier, maybe take the career of Sting.
That could be interesting if it was to go down. That would get ultimate heat forever
Mhm.
for MJF if that was to go down. So yeah, that or more tease friction with Wardlow because I think Wardlow has got a very very bright
Mhm.
future. Would definitely like to see that. We're going to take this one up from Joseph. It's a very interesting question here. What have you guys made of the new NXT talent? I'm excited to see Anna Real Howard. She is the most decorated female athlete the company has ever signed, and he's also gone on to say that she's very interested in it because they've never had a female athlete of her level ever in that company. Well, obviously, clearly then there's obviously a lot of hype around her. Do you know much about
Oh,
Anriel Howard?
she was a basketball player?
Is there more down? I will come and get that if I can.
She was in the WNBA at least from WWE signs former Mississippi State basketball player. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, if she has experience in other sports, then I mean, yeah, she might be the most decorated women's athlete ever. Very possible. She has a background in something else, so obviously she's gifted in athletics. So that's gonna be interesting to see her.
absolutely. In ring, that will be fascinating to watch. And obviously, she's got the character and the gimmick that WWE wants to go with it. The sky is obviously the limit. No. Wrestling by Wardred and love Jeff Cobb. Okay, what are your thoughts on the Owen Hart Cup plans, AEW's version of King of the Ring? Who do you think could enter? I mean, obviously, Owen Hart, I think this was a really emotional thing this week. Obviously, announced that this will be happening. Apparently, he's going to be involved in the video game as well, having him as a playable character. I think that's going to be fun to see. Owen Hart was one of my favorites growing up. So for me, I'm really happy about this news. How about yourself, fella?
Me too, and I see a comment there, Brian Pillman Jr., that would be something if he won it. I think they're gonna maybe have some, like, underdogs in this cup, like, maybe a Jungle Boy, like a Brian Pillman Jr., like a Griff Garrison, and again, I don't know the full roster, there's so many people, but, I think, yeah, Brian Pillman Jr. winning that would be so spectacular, like, the emotional tie to it, to his father and the relationship with that, with the Hart family, I think would be really, really special.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be an awesome set. I have seen a rumor going around of the idea of Kevin Owens because Kevin Owens had Owen as his last name based on Owen Hart. And if he was to
Ooh.
join AEW,
Mhm.
that could be an interesting avenue. But
Yeah.
I do like the idea of this younger star. I think that that's a great
Mhm.
way to push someone going forward. I like the shouts of Jungle Boy, the idea of Brian Pillman Jr. I think that certainly is very interesting if that was to happen. Last couple of questions then, and then we will just call it off then for the rest of the stream. So apologize for any questions that haven't been answered on this. Martin Career, what match stipulation would you guys make WWE to bring back old fans?
Why was the first thing I thought of an Inferno match? I don't think that would ever happen in WWE today. Um, what's a match that's been like, oh man. I really like seeing more I Quit matches, honestly. I feel like that's not
Mm,
something that we see too often. I personally, like, love those. Like, I think of, like, Cena and Randy Orton, that was a great I Quit match, and I know I Quit matches are more prominent on, like, the indie scene nowadays, but I would love to see them kind of bring back I Quit matches. I mean, I'm personally a fan of those.
yeah, I like the idea of that. I think that's really cool. I quit is it's just a great stipulation, and for
Mhm,
someone to say they quit, I just think that it defines a feud, and it's a feud ender, isn't it? I'm going to say the Boiler Room Brawl, just because of the fact that it's
mhm.
something completely out of the ordinary. Because we need the right people to do the that sort of gimmick match. Really, Bray Wyatt would have been great back in the day. But we have here the other comments that have come in. Joshi Pro, the three big names who
That's
increased their
what
requests are.
my was for.
I saw it and I thought to myself, there's something big going on down in those comments. Kevin Owens, Dolph Ziggler, and Sami Zayn. Well, two of those not a surprise, but Dolph Ziggler.
It's
I'm
not a
surprised.
surprise either. It's not a surprise to me either, but, like, the rumors like, there's a rumor every year that he's leaving. Who reported that? Was it, who reported that?
I think we said earlier on PWU, I think was the
Oh,
report
Unlimited.
earlier on. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
So that would be where it is. So interesting if that is the scenario. We'll have to wait and see how that'll play out. And there was a comment from Joshi Pro saying, "This is. I think we have to bring it up here. Brian Pillman Jr. to win the Owen Hart
Mhm.
Cup with the sharpshooter in honor of him would honestly cry, and that would be a very emotional way to win it. I do like the sound of that." Jones has said, "Thank you for answering my questions." Shall we take one last question?
Yeah.
One last question. Let's do it. I mean, what is here at the bottom here that we can find nice and quickly to throw in there? Okay. Interesting one to finish us off. Martin, I don't know the possibility of choices WWE do in the draft to make things better, aside of seeing fresh matches, but I guess WWE's lost their way and having the same issues. Well, let's just say, to finish things off here with this, with the draft, do you think we will get a fresher product, and who do you want to see particularly move?
I would hope so that we would get some fresh product. I don't see like the Universal or the WWE champions moving brands. However, I have been a huge proponent for putting Seth Rollins and John Morrison on the brand on the same brand. We kind of saw an alliance with them in Money in the Bank, which I think really popped the crowd, but we've never seen them in a match together. And so that's a feud, but then again, they're both heels right now, but I think they're kind of similar and have a similar way that I think they would mesh really well, or even in alliance together. That's something I really, really want. But we mentioned Asuka moving to SmackDown earlier. I think that would be a breath of fresh air for her career. That's a move to be made. I'm trying to think of who else could I mean, if Drew Mac there's been did you see that graphic too where I think Finn Balor was on Raw and Sasha Banks was on Raw, and then
Oh,
um uh United States champion right now. Damian Priest was on the
Damian Priest.
SmackDown side, and so there was a graphic that showed, I think it wasn't for the cameo stuff, but they had showed a graphic where people on different brands right now were showed on the other brand. So maybe those are some spoilers, but according to those, Finn Balor and Sasha Banks would be moving to Raw, and Damian Priest would be moving to SmackDown, so that's possible. But the biggest one for me is I really want to see Seth Rollins and John Morrison on the same brand, just personally.
I like it. Move Joe Morrison then to SmackDown, I say, because I like what Seth's doing. And if you can have Seth and Drew on the same show as someone on SmackDown, I think they could have a great feud as well. So
Mhm.
I'd move Drew over the SmackDown, like you say, keeping it fresh there with Oscar. Those things I want to see. I want to see Keith Lee on SmackDown as
Oh, I
well.
love Keith Lee.
I'd love to see him back. I know they've got
Mhm.
the Bearcat thing as well as a
Yeah.
potential name there. I think that would be a great tribute if they do that as well. And then for Raw, the big shock would be if it was Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, if they went to Raw and have the New Day on SmackDown. It would be a big shock if it happened, but we'll have to wait and see. That's
There'd
what I
be
want.
enough time for Roman Reigns' entrance then for sure.
Yes, maybe it wouldn't be as we'd be actually Roman Reigns wouldn't dictate all of the show, and people would have their time to have their matches and not have segments cut. And speaking of that, I said we'd have to talk about before we finish this video. I've just remembered it. Naomi, Sonya Deville. What's your thoughts on that just before we close up?
I am glad that even though their segment was also cut from the 9/11 issue, Naomi did post a clip on Twitter. And so it wouldn't make sense with this storyline going on to move Naomi to Raw. So I think Naomi has to stay put on SmackDown, and then hopefully maybe it leads to Naomi getting fed up and leading to Sonya Deville's in-ring return.
Interesting. I'd love to see it. I hope it goes down. And if it doesn't happen that way, then I want Naomi to join the Bloodline.
C Nation dog. See, they're the masters of the drip, the two-man power drip. That is an amazing, amazing team name. I love that so much.
There's so much drip on that name, you just can't top it. And I think that is the point where we have to say thank you, everyone that has been putting in the questions, has been with the stream from start to finish. If you've joined us halfway through, thank you so much. It's been amazing. LJ, it's been amazing to have you here as well. Thank you so much for coming back on the channel again. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. And again, sorry I've kind of been MIA, got sick after Empower, but I am glad to be back and I am glad to be on SCW.
It's health and safety always comes first, and it's great to see that you're back on top form once again. And yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what comes along next. Obviously, you've got many more amazing interviews. I'm sure that's going to be on the way. You've got the PWI that's going to be coming out for the ladies soon as well. So, I mean, just one more time, if people haven't heard of LJ by now, and God, they should have, where can they find you?
Oh gosh, I have so many links, but you can find most of them. I believe Steve linked below in my link tree in the YouTube description, or you can find them in my link in Twitter, which is at It's Ella J. But I run a Wrestling Gal podcast all by myself. I also work for SE Scoops and WrestleZone as an on-screen talent and a writer for SE Scoops, where I write a weekly women's wrestling wrap-up column. I also do work for Bell to Bell's Women's Wrestling Talk, which is on Fight TV, and PWI coming up. I was on the committee for the top 150 women's issue now, and also have something else coming up in that issue that I had the pleasure of putting together. So I can't wait for it to be released. And AEW Dynamite is next week. I'm so happy to finally go to my first AEW event.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I hope you have the most amazing time. Really do. And obviously, yeah, everybody check everything out. And I've put a couple of links in the description below, so you can go and make sure to follow Ella J as well on Twitter also. And yeah, just follow everything. There's fantastic stuff. Honestly, you won't regret it. But that's all from us anyway. Thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good one. Please, leave a like if you want to talk about any of the topics we've discussed today in the comments. Do so. I look forward to interacting with you. Have yourselves a good one. You've been watching SCW Live, the Q&A. And yeah, have yourselves a good one. We'll see you next time. All the best. Take care. From Ella and me, goodbye.